I can take it soon. It's fine. I got it. Here we go.
Happy New Year and good morning, because we're all so early to the metaverse. We posted this up during the intro, and I just got to bring it back right quick. Blarg the Zombie, pack your glass and park your assets here. We like as in a like a Merry Christmas type of thing, I'm sure. Anyway, thank you for joining us, the Metaverse Nomads. As promised, at least one of the six of us will be there for you every week at 10 a.m. PST to bring you your weekly dose of Metaverse news and buzz from our favorite blockchain games and ecosystems. This week we have myself, Bonafide, also known as Invest Geek on Twitter. We have Fancy Head of Rome. How you doing, Fancy?
He's the quiet type.
Yeah,
he's
probably
muted for a second. Doing great. Hi.
Right on, brother. We have Jesse Whitakis of Rome. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm good. Good to be here.
Right on. And we have Ray V's of Rome. How you doing, brother? You're muted also.
I'm back, baby. Let's go.
There you go. Back in the effect. And then we have Banjo Samurai of Rome. How you doing, brother?
I am doing well. I am back in the saddle after a month of buying, selling, driving across country, and getting sick. I feel like I've got myself back again. So good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everyone.
That is awesome to see you back, brother, because you've definitely been missed. We also have Ultra of Rome. He's currently in transit. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to unmute. Are you there? So Ultra of Rome is going to be in and out. We'll be giving him the floor when he has some breaks in his schedule, but he's out moving around and doing some things. And as one of the six, I'm just happy to have us all here on the second of the year. I'm very happy with that. That bodes well for 2022 for us and everybody out there in the metaverse. I think 2022 is going to be an amazing year because the things that have been built since the crashes of 2020 and the rebuilding of 2021. 2022 it looks stellar, and I'm excited, man. How you guys all feeling?
I'm excited about what's coming, man. I think we've been waiting so long for some of these products to really get going, and now we've got Star Atlas that's doing well for all of us, and we're seeing some other things on the horizon. So I think we just got started in 2021, and 2022 is going to be a hell of a lot better.
I agree with you, brother. So let's go ahead and get started with some Axie news. Last week we didn't have our resident Axie OG Ray with us, and let's go ahead and get started with that and see what was going on.
Yeah, it's been a long 2 weeks, and I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Here, we'll just add that back.
Ray's showing up to counter all my Axie FUD.
What did you say, Jess? Coming hard and heavy this week.
Didn't you listen?
So, here we go. Browser can't access your screen. Great. All right, let's do this again. Here we go. Add the stream. So, let's start off at the top of the head of the fish. We have the 20 all-time on CryptoSlam. Great resource, by the way, not sponsored. And you can check the NFT collection rankings by sale volume. of all time, 30 days, 7 day, 24. And, the Ronin network, a side chain of Ethereum, is just blowing everything else out the water. And it's good to see that, because although there's a lot of FUD and shade being thrown against the team and them maybe taking action, not enough action, SLP price tanking for what it's worth, and everything going on that front, which is the surface layer stuff. If you go anywhere beneath the surface, there's a lot of promise, as we're still very early in this stage at where we at with crypto and then Axie specifically. But if we move on here, so definitely check out CryptoSlam, pretty good resource. And we have so within the 2 weeks, as there's been updates. So U.S. citizens can charge their cards, credit and debit, to buy SLP, Ethereum, and AXS via the Ramp network. So thank you, Ramp. And so that's pretty cool. Have any of you used it yet? Are you guys holding back on buying anything Axie related, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. The good news about that is I love to see when companies provide on-ramps like that. Anything like that makes it more accessible in a language and in a format that the masses are already familiar with. You're not asking them to take a big leap and change of behavior by having to go through an exchange first and then bring it over to a DEX. It's just straight, hey, use your credit card, go ahead and drop in, make a purchase here. People can relate to that. So anything that's an on-ramp like that, I think serves the industry as a whole. But regarding your second question, I'm most definitely on hold with things Axie related right now, with the exception of I am staking some SLP and I'm staking AXS and I'm collecting that RON. Nice. Again, we don't know what the RON's going to do for us, but I got a pile stacking up there that I'm excited about. But overall, it's just one of those instances for me where I got into the project pretty much at its peak. And whenever you do that, you're gonna, sure, it's gonna be, you're gonna feel kind of like that cheese wheel race going. Right. And that's kind of what it's been like. So I'm at a place now where I'm far from having even broke even, but I still hold out for the fact that I think they will do something interesting, because like I've said in the past, they're sitting on a boatload of cash. Mm-hmm. They've got a DEX. They're set up for good things. I just don't know what that looks like specifically with Axie, or if it's going to be something else within their ecosystem.
Yeah, so there's a great thread besides this next update that's on screen of the last seed round that was closed, which was worth $3.5 billion. So that's enough money for the lifetime of any project. There's more than enough there. So all it really comes down to is the networking of the team and what they have and the connections and what narrative that they want to now introduce into this new year with Axie.
I mean, I've said it before. I mean, it's always been their game to lose. When you leave the pack and you start leading the pack, it's your game to lose. You're the leader. You're at the forefront. You're the one breaking the meta. You're the one changing the society. Is what they actually did. Right. And I've said it before. I mean, I haven't personally used the ability to transfer my USD into SLP or anything like that, because I'm not actively investing in Axie anymore, sort of like Jesse. At the same time, I had a mentor when I first came in that helped me with breeding. So I actually flipped quite a bit in the beginning and kind of made quite a bit of profit in the beginning. I don't know if I'm going to say I'm like super deep into profit or anything like that, but I did okay with Axie. I'm not, pained about the investment at all. But the thing is that for me, I have scholars still trying to pour in to my scholar guild, and that is the reason I'm really passionate about it in the first place. You know what I mean? The ability to help people in around the world to earn an extra little bit of income is important to me. And so this past pay period, I gave all, guys that were earning at a certain level, I gave them all 100% of their earnings.
Holiday special.
And and they were all happy about that. I've seen it did what it was supposed to do. I've seen a big jump in their activity level and their excitement level and how hard they're going. They seem to be playing a little bit better this week all of a sudden, so, this is good. And they're not struggling as hard as, it's possible to think right now at the 3 cent level. I think if it came up to a 6 cent or a little bit above that, anywhere around 10 cents, I think
Yeah.
I think it'll still be a workable economy. It's just right now they're hurting really bad. And the problem with Axie is similar to the problem with Gala Games in that they're not giving the information that people want to hear. People are, asking about, what's the sky looking like? And these guys are talking about how they're digging a new hole in the ground, and that's, that's not gonna help the community a lot, So
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not selling anything in Axie. I don't think I will in the near future. I'm building more, I'm re-rolling assets, back into it. So
I don't think it's worth it to sell anything that you have at this point because we just saw
no, it's not
a loss. I was looking at the floor the other day on 100% pures, and they're about 100% pure virgin at that. It's like $170. That's
and I'll be real with you, Jesse. That's a buy to me, to be honest. Like I'm actually looking at like some of my main scholars who have friends and family that they want to get in right now. That they're like, hey. I'm like, you know what? I mean, it's so cheap right now. Let's just go ahead and do it, and see what happens. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like the problem that I really have is that when Battles V2 comes out, the Axies are going to change, right? The body parts are going to change, and that's going to change the meta. And you're not going to know the Axie that you buy now today might be a scrap Axie when that comes out. They're not being clear about what's going to happen. And so hopefully, you're kind of hoping that you're going to be able to, burn your Axie. And okay, tell me about that.
So the team has said throughout the year, so just taking a step back with the ramp network and buying and selling. So okay, so for your point, Bonafide, the team always expressed that there's going to be added utility, and that's the route any NFT project has to go, or else they'll just die out. They won't, unless you're making a shit ton of money on what you're just holding, which is a PFP project NFT. Then where does that project ultimately end? And Axie has spearheaded the 2-token economic system for many games.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to rush. They're the ones trailblazing at the head of the pack, like you guys mentioned. So it's almost like they have the money, they have the time, they use their time wisely, and it's never going to be on the pulse of what the community says up until recently, with just wanting a little bit more coming out as far as updates, visuals, clips, which they are listening to the community on that end. I know it's been a long while since the OGs of 2017, 2018, from even seeing any land play up until the demo of last year on December. But again, just like Jess said, whenever you buy in, depending on if it's at the high or if you actually believe in it, it's worth holding on because of just in the 50,000 foot view of things, it's so early. So again, if you can afford to lose whatever you have in any particular game, it's, depending on what your financial
never invest what you can't afford to lose ever.
That's what it is. So some projects are spearheading different areas of developing their project that Axie has already talked about, which is having a DEX. So DeFi Kingdoms rings a bell and comes to the forefront of them building a game on top of a DEX, where Ronin was created as a DEX after and implemented after there was already a game to play, which you can say was fun or not, but it was earning people money and helping people in other countries. And they spearheaded the community of Axie spearheaded the scholarship program, right? Which now other projects are taking on. And I hear a lot of people not knowing that fact about the community of Axie creating the scholarships, and they say Axie Infinity created. So there's a lot of people who might not know exactly the history timeline because there's so much to learn and keep up with in the moment that no one's going as in depth in the past to catch up to what they're trying to feel like they're missing out on now. So there's a crazy dynamic there, and all projects that are NFT related, Axie included, are going to go the route of a decentralized DEX. So going back to the on ramp for buying with credit cards and debit cards, the team already, before even with ramp as a way for people to get on and off buying with credit cards and debit cards, we're talking about having an Axie credit card. So they already had a vision with a DEX where all of this is in-house and the rewards are going to stay in-house, and the company or the project gets a percentage like we have now with many other NFT projects, whether you buy in the secondary market and they get 5-10% from resales, or the sale fees on the market on the particular project. So it's only a matter of time before all of these ecosystems are refined and everyone is getting their fair share, right? The markets will stabilize. There will be added utility. So I have no doubt. And the team, if you watch many videos and just keep up with what's been going on and ask people, the team specifically and watch the team members talk about the project and what's coming. There wasn't as many development updates every month that came out, but they fixed that issue, and now every month they have a development update on Medium. Right, so they're learning just as we are learning as we're going, because they are at the top or in the front of the pack. Right, every other project is taking cues from Axie Infinity, and that's what makes them maybe shine in the short term. Right? Oh wow, well, Axie doesn't have that. Why? How come their tokenomics are crap and this one's great? Right? Well, sure enough, it's gonna all change where it's gonna benefit the majority of people, in my opinion. And SLP is just gonna be one of many tokens that are gonna be tradable, just like on DeFi Kingdoms, that started on a DEX, which I have some information and slides on after this with Axie, that are promising because the items in the game are being speculated on. There's a lot of money to be made with just the items before they actually have utility. So every item in DeFi Kingdoms is what, an SLP, fake. Is it a replica of SLP? When are we going to have utilities for those items, right? When is the Alchemist going to come out where we can use these to craft potions and whatnot for our heroes? So, but overall, everybody wants or is on a different highway at a different speed limit, and it's kind of like everyone is just there's a big ass pile up in my view of this, like people wanting things when the team is giving and when they're not giving them. But as far as future updates or current updates that are implemented already for Axie, we have a filter update, which I would say was well over.
Wait, before you move on.
Oh yeah.
Before you move on, I thought you were going to mention how the Axies that are bought today will be worth more in the future. I'm not sure. Maybe that's not where you were trying to go, but
we have a slide. So
what I was trying to say is that I'm hesitant to buy more Axies right now because when Battles V2 comes out, I know the Axies are going to be so different that the meta is going to shift, and I'm not sure what that's going to do to the value of Axies that are bought today, and that's why I can't recommend buying Axies today, is because I'm like, okay, Battles V2 comes out, what's going to happen to those Axies?
Well, I'll tell you this much, that there's going to be utility for all Axies, which was always expressed, whether it's a sync to upgrade other parts on other Axies, to swap for SLP directly, or to have for a mass rating, because there's going to be, I might not have the slide here, but I could always pull it up, or you can check the latest article that came out with the video that was shared, the teaser video, which we'll play here at the end of the slideshow. But I guess we can continue on the negative side of Axie Infinity things that are taking place. And this was on the 20th, within the 2 weeks that we weren't here doing Axie updates like that. But so there's juggling taking place, which was rectified, and it's from one account to the next with the goal to increase the energy amounts for any particular account. And this goes against the terms of services, which was already a thing, but people just do it under the table. And they have systems to check this specific issue. And then so they updated the energy system so the Axies are gifted and or bought. The Axies that are gifted or bought no longer count towards extra energy. The same day as they are acquired, banned Axies will no longer be counted towards extra energy. So that took place already, which was nice to see, because that means they're actually dealing with situations that are going to negatively affect the economy and the players who actually care and support the community. And this is from the article that just came out yesterday. Over the last 48 hours, there was an individual who was already having a history of and might have gotten banned previously. Don't take my word on that, but he has a history, and he was caught, or he streamed himself win trading, quote unquote, which is people who match up with him on his live stream would lose on purpose so he could rank up in the arena to ultimately win when the season ends the rewards in AXS, which are a couple of thousands of dollars. So now this is the end result of it, which was or this is the actual issue, and these are the key points. So thanks to numerous reports of the community actually voicing what was going on and watching the video. So people watched in the community this video of this gentleman doing this win trading and brought it up, and it became a bigger snowball, rolled into like in the last 48 hours. And there will be updates to the terms of service, up to the terms of service that are clearly express zero tolerance for collusion. And so it's interesting that the terms of service are not finite and absolute themselves. And this is another healthy sign of a project who's in the front of the pack, making changes within 24 to 48 hours of things that are not healthy for the community in the long run. And, I could be the most bullish person on Axie, but these are just things you'd like to see as, on ramps for how to buy in without doing bridges and losing half of your money on fees. So for what it's worth, this is the solution that was implemented And all that was done, and I say all that was done was because there was many people who were saying he should get his whole account banned for 365 days, no axes. He should just be banned for like 2 years. And because the terms of services were updated, I guess what was shared and I guess the sentiment was the team going as hard as they can to execute and get rid of members who took advantage of win trading would have been too hard of an act for it to be the first go around where they had to update the terms of service. Because it wasn't in the terms of service, technically nothing was wrong. And so there's that back and forth. It's clearly wrong and it was clearly taken care of. But there was some people who are more extreme on the extreme spectrum where the team is now, I guess, going to learn from this and implement a way to track, which might be the most difficult thing, people doing this behind the scenes, not exposing themselves on a Twitch stream of win trading. So you could only think that if you're and a good friend of yours is in the top 5 and you come across each other, you could always shoot a text and be like, hey, let me win. So how is the Axis team going to handle future win trading, which I'm curious to know if they don't already have a solution. So this has been in the last 48 hours, 24 hours. I haven't gone too deep. So that's a pretty interesting thing to keep up on, and I'll update you guys if I find anything out. But the axes for this gentleman Taxon used on stream will be banned. So it's only those 3 axes. And then there was a lot of people saying one of his guild mates, right? He has a large guild. One of his guild mates could just give him those same axes where he could just do it again. Like the same axes with the same moves that got him up into the top 5. You could just purchase them again, or a team member or a scholar could just give them to you. So there's a lot going on, and it's not the end of the world. And it's kind of been dealt with already, and in the community as far as the Axie mountain for anyone who's holding Mystic Axie, it seemed to be blown over now. There was a solution, and we'll see how it goes going forward. But that's basically the extent of the negative news for the last 2 weeks, outside of SLP prices just going down. But on the Twitter, which you all should follow of Axie Infinity, which give pretty good updates, we have 2 formidable teams internally working on Land Project K, and the Origin is the 3rd iteration of our battle system. So you're going to have faster, more skill-based, more beautiful, free demo Axies to learn. So these are the burner Axies for people to jump in and start playing, which will increase the daily active users, and then potentially the monthly income revenue, which would add towards the treasury, which is like overflowing, and the amount of money that's just flowing into on the Ronin network, Axie Infinity assets. So that's pretty good. And this is all from the same thread. I just took 3 of them. But here we go with the SLP situation where there'll be crafting upgrades, resource sinks. These are all very important to us. And the next one as well for the SLP situation. So this is important to us, and we take economic levers seriously. So we look to deploy some interesting experiments this year, and perhaps sooner than you might think. And so this is one of them. So 20th will be a gameplay release. So we're going to have something, whether it's quarter 1, 2, it's going to be this year, and when that time comes. So these new releases will add increasing utility to our NFTs by unlocking fun, magical experiences. They will also unlock new economic levers that will allow us to be more easily fine-tune and balance the economy. So we don't know exactly what it is, but sure enough, from our experience in other games, both legacy and NFT related, you can only imagine that SLP will bump up and in a considerable amount, because there's going to be many things that you can do with what they're going to be coming out with in this year. So we have some little updated artwork for structures and buildings. Maybe that was too fast. If you guys wanted to pause the screen, I guess, when you're watching it afterwards. And so that's pretty cool. And they've showed others as well. These are just cute. And here we go. I don't know if anyone.
This is actually a good one here. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the updated art for the actual land gameplay that's going to be coming out. And the video after this still shot is pretty cool. And I don't know anyone who's not involved in Axies, like this is pretty major. This is another still shot. So we have a pretty cool animation of the face here, non-verbal. And here we are. I don't know if you guys could hear the video, but if not, check it out on YouTube. And you can check out the sound effects, which are just as important as what you're seeing. So there's that 36-second clip.
Is that supposed to be a cutscene or is that an in-game render?
This is a teaser. So this is in-game. This is what the art is going to look like. So if you just rewind it back to here, so here we go. So I'm not. So this is the thing. There's an update. There's a little like a from here to there, right? There's that update of the art. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to be looking like this. For the arena battles, we have that upgraded Axie art and animations coming through, and it's similar to this. This is more of a, I guess, 3D rendered. I'm not sure, but if it's going to look anything like that, which it can possibly, as we know of, all these different engines to build games on, it's going to be pretty cool. So that's promised.
Were there any dates, timelines, even if it's quarter based?
No. So there? No. So this is all going to be taking place within the year, sooner than later. So that's pretty much what we got. But I can assume, based off of how active and how many updates are coming out, the sentiment is just there for something to come out soon. So again, speculative, but we're definitely getting something in this year, which is gonna.
No, I'm definitely not going anywhere, and I hope they're not. But I still question, how valuable it is, like as far as buying Axies today, what that's going to do, when the Battles V2 comes out and the burn mechanic becomes active. I haven't heard the devs really talk about how they're going to protect Axie value, or put, mechanics in a way to where you're going to actually be able to burn your Axies for more value than what you would buy them for today. And that's an interesting thing that people should be thinking about, I think, if we don't know any real data,
Well, account holders are at our all-time high. We got 300K daily active addresses, and it's the number 2 ecosystem for all total NFT lagging. Only second to Ethereum, right? So as far as account holders, the team isn't here to pump the prices. That the team indirectly, those things will indirectly happen when you build a game that's fun and enjoyable and accessible to everyone. So if there's going to be a sync, if there's going to be added utility, the prices should technically go up because there'll be more demand. If these people are playing with Axies and you need 3 for a team, then buy the floor Axies and see an increase. You'll be able to resell them for the next 3, 4, 500, or 5 million players that are going to be coming in within this year. Maybe I could see us hitting 20 million daily active users by the end of the year.
Or what are we at right now today?
We're at close to 3. There's 3 million, or a little bit over 3, or a lot over 3. I don't know, but there's 3 million, 3.5, I'd say. And this is just with what we had for the longest time, outside of these recent updates within this last week, right? But again, there's a lot of information and numbers and charts that you can look at, and different, YouTube videos and podcasts that are going into the numbers deeper. And then with Ronin being the X factor here, it's just gonna, if you're not farming Ronin, which is the actual it's gonna be the network token to sign transactions. We have 100 free transactions right now on the Ronin network, but nothing can be done without you being on the Ronin network when it comes to Axie Infinity. So there will be an influx of money, and they have the money to build. It's just like, it's a no-brainer to me. It's just time. Again, if you guys are coming in at the top of where prices were, and it, just like a lot of scholarship managers did, after more than 7 months went by of people getting scholarships ready, and until the horde of people who saw dollar signs came in, right? Whether you had $1 million to put in and buy Axies, set up a DAO yourself in a corporate LLC, whatever you want to call it, or you were just one of us who joined in based off of a suggestion or advice, or maybe whatever you heard that was promising to come. A lot of people are down. Just within the last year, there was 40,000 at the beginning of the year daily active users to 2.5 million up until 3, just recent. So 80% of people are down. And that's why you see all this negative sentiment against SLP, because people probably didn't even know AXS existed. They just jumped into
that. You have a lot of people that came in because they were expecting to be able to play a game and earn a living, and then the ability to earn a living went away. And because that's the mass amount of Axie players, right? Is the scholars who came in from all over the world.
Sure.
That number you showed. Before you get to TB real quick, the numbers that you showed earlier at the very beginning about sitting at the top of NFTs, It was like 3.8. Yeah, this one here. If I had to guess, I would say that probably 75% of that is because of scholar programs.
Oh yeah.
So right
100%.
now,
Sure.
those scholars are not, they're not exactly happy. So it's one of those
Their
things
ability
where,
to do scholarships was their claim to fame.
yeah,
That's what
absolutely. And so
changed the world.
because it's such a significant part of that number, it's almost like I feel like there's kind of an onus for the company to say, hey, look, guys, this is our plan for scholars. And that's the piece that to me feels like it's missing, because they have there's one thing they do have to lose. Okay, they've got the cash in the bank, they've got the exchange, but there's something to be said for momentum. And as we know right now, there are tons of games and things that are pouring into the space. And so then it becomes a battle for attention span. So the daily active users, that number can't continue to skyrocket indefinitely. And if you're not able to grab that attention again from the people that showed up, those numbers that we're seeing there, then you run the risk of losing their attention. So that to me is a concern. That's why I keep asking dates, and hopefully they'll be able to say, hey, look, you know what, Q2, we're going to have something that's going to blow your minds. It's going to be exciting. But right now it's kind of a hurry up and wait situation. At least it seems that way to me.
I think you're 100% right there, Jesse, because I mean, what happens when a Star Atlas has a rental system, or a Miranda's has, you know,
Or
a
Illuvium
rental system, or Illuvium, or a lot of the games we're probably going to talk about today. You know, I mean, there's a lot of competition in the space. Nobody's as far ahead as Axie. Nobody is, but the wolves are at the gate, as it were. Going back to Timmy B from the comments, is breeding still profitable? I remember making like 5K profit a week breeding plant Axies, plant tanks before it got oversaturated. You're at 100% right, Timmy. I had a similar experience to you. I was breeding aquas in the beginning instead, and I had a mentor that was helping me, and I was doing great. My initial investments were very good in Axie, and I kept going. And then I found the scholarships, and it, you know, I lost my mind with the scholarship thing because I was able to help people and still make money. What do you think about that, Ray? Before we move on, you want to talk about this a little bit with Timmy B?
Yeah, so the breeding can be profitable if you're up on the meta and changing as the team changes the or nerfs or buffs any particular move, which did take place, and there was a little uproar with a lot of people, like I said earlier, getting in, buying the most meta Axies to have their scholars competitive, and then there was a debuff of a particular move which was being exploited. Like it was a different situation. It wasn't just a card move. I think it was a bony shell. It's a back move.
Well, to be fair, Aquas got hit pretty hard too, which was what most of my scholars were using. So
absolutely, so
they were trying to.
Right. So this usually takes place when there's an imbalance of how many Axies are being played with versus not played with, how many moves are being used versus not, because what's the point of having all these different cards where you can breed and have almost an ultimate or an infinite amount of breeds with different moves across all the classes? So the team is not here. Again, like you can't expect a particular business to accommodate just you and your subset of scholars, right? It's just like everyone's going to have an opinion, and if the majority of people are feeling so it was abrupt, the update. So I can say that much, where it's just like there was no foreknowledge. But again, I'm kind of going in and out of like this. Do they have to say anything if there's a discrepancy as far as like a crazy imbalance of the top 50 to 100 ranked arena players have the same team? And then it just comes down to skill or how much, you know, you can hold, you know, like it didn't make any sense, because there needs to be diversity amongst, and it's going to be an ongoing battle. It's going to be a tit for tat back and forth versus community and the levers that the team can pull to balance the game, the cards, and how much people can make, as far as, you know, not pumping the tokens, but, you know, people taking advantage of earning more SLP from doing, you know, malicious things, or just taking advantage of different ways to make more. So yeah, you know, Aquas were long overdue, in my opinion, if you keep up with what's going on, for a correction, as far as, because they were just the most profitable thing, and people ran with that for months, you know, and prior to Aquas being in the forefront, being profitable as far as breeding, they were hardly ever used, right? Every season there's a new meta of team for Axies, and it's just becoming more and more intricate and deep.
Yeah, with my limited knowledge of gameplay within Axie, it occurred to me that the reason that Aquas were so significant is because at that time they were so utility. They were one of the few teams where you could run two of them
Right.
It was a plant
100%.
aqua. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So shout out to everybody out there, Metaverse Nomads wide. When you're digging into these games, remember that they are games. And so meta and balancing changes has always been a hallmark of games. And people have been playing games for decades, and you've been playing your favorite character and it got nerfed.
Yep,
and you always got to remember that, because now that you're putting real money into these games, you might get nerfed. And guess what? That's part of the game. It's probably better for the game overall, and you got to take those hits. So you don't dive in.
On it. I don't even know about might. I think you can count on getting nerfed.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Jesse. You know what? You're 100% right on that. You don't. It's not about if you're going to get nerfed. It's about when you're going to get nerfed. If you're doing too good at the game, just already know. Okay, if I'm riding high in the hall, just know I'm about to get nerfed.
Diversify.
Yeah, I mean, guilds I've been in the past. I mean, prior to Rome, I mean, we used to take pride in the fact that we got nerfed or we got banned because we were doing whatever we were doing. But now it's real world money. So pay attention to that out there and be careful, you guys.
Right, and don't get it twisted. Every other game is going to throw out some nerfs where you were benefiting, tremendously, and then you're going to have an attitude problem too, and throw shade that depending on again your financial situation. We'll see what people say or what the community says or not. But let's push forward.
As we think about Star Atlas ships, like so should I don't buy too many of a certain type of ship, right? Because it might get nerfed. You know what I mean?
And then who are you going to blame? Not the Metaverse Nomads, because this is not financial advice. So here we go. This is DeFi Kingdoms. I mentioned it very briefly on the 3-hour episode we had just 3 weeks ago. And we have this project that was built on a DEX. Or it is a DEX. And they just hit 1 billion market cap for their Jewel token. So I got in at $5. I think it's like $19 now. And it's just an insane run up. But it's based off of sound economics, which is the DEX of you just take a Uniswap or a Sushi, maybe not so much Sushi until they get their thing together, but take a Uniswap and just gamify it, right? So basically, that's what technically happened. This is on the Harmony network, so you would have to get that RPC updated and just swap and jump over there. And I would suggest everyone join the Discord. There's the links channel. This is going to be a brief just overview, and these are the milestones that took place.
90% is locked up. Wow, that's
significant. Yeah. So again, when I was there, I showed the total market. I showed the TVL. I think it was only 250 million at the time, and now we're at 900 just in the span of. But the team is on the ball, man. They have AMAs. You could check out their YouTube channel. They do a bi-weekly AMA, and there's so much depth to the game. Outside of just what you can do as far as staking, adding liquidity to pools, which all have different names. Liquidity provider is Gardens in this case. So sure enough, I would say it's still not too late, because there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube as well who compare the tokenomics and the success and what Axie is to DeFi Kingdoms, and how DeFi Kingdoms is coming around and flanking the whole market of NFT gaming, where they started with the DEX versus a game building out a DEX. So the only differentiator here is the shit ton of money that Axie has to expedite anything they need to do to get back in the front if people don't think they're in the front. So I would say, it's neck to neck here with DeFi Kingdoms, and we have Gabby, the CEO or founder of, Yield Guild Gaming's throwing out some tweet, and there you go at the end, DeFi Kingdoms next, right? And there's a lot of support, and the community of DeFi Kingdoms. I went balls deep within the last 2 weeks. And
how deep?
Balls deep. 6 feet. 6 feet, balls deep. All right. I almost died and came back. So and I put in a good amount of money to the project, and for good reason, right? Because I saw the community, the sentiment, the support, the resources, the community is just blowing out the amount of help that it's just coming out of the freaking every hole, and it's amazing. So by far, just take advantage of going to the Discord, ask your questions. There's great YouTube videos. You can always just start up the game. You don't need any heroes, which are the NFTs that are that are animated just from the card. But there's going to be a PvP and a PvE coming out. Yeah, definitely balls deep. So you can always check out the game. It brings you through a tutorial. If you have what you need to actually get started or not, it walks you through it. And then you have the menu on the top right. You could always check out the about, and you got the charts, the Twitter, the Discord, Telegram. It's great. The docs, the white paper is sound. You could run through that. It's a good amount of pages to occupy some of your time there. And what else do I have here? Oh yeah, so here we go. So these are the heroes, and these are just again resources and graphics that the community made to help people getting in to understand. So you have mining, gardening, foraging, and fishing, which are the professions that you can put your heroes on to do quests and earn in-game items. So the stats for each are required. So luck and agility for fishing, and then dexterity, intelligent foraging, so on and so forth. And the classes, depending on if you want to breed or not, or simply just buy off of the marketplace, will require you in this next one we have here to breed the next level of hero. So if you have a warrior and a knight, and the chances of you rolling up a paladin is going to be, it varies. But on the Discord, if you go there, if you're new to DeFi Kingdoms or just getting involved, I wish I knew this earlier, because I was rolling thinking it's pure luck, and technically it is, but it's measurable to a certain extent as far as the percentages of what your offspring will be if you breed. So you can go to the bot command and you could do a /match, put in the 2 ID numbers, and then you can see what the probability by percentages of what the main class, the secondary class, the what the main profession will be, and also what the attributes and the numbers for those would be as well. So, also, this is a game that you can rent out your heroes to earn more jewels. So something that Axie isn't doing, right? So you can put up and not sell, but rent out or hire, they call it. Someone can hire your hero, and you have a hiring fee and then the actual fee to breed in Jewel. This is all in Jewel. So there's crazy utility for Jewel, which is the main token. There is no other token, but there's gold as a tradable token that you can have, and which is in the game. And you can now earn it from mining, which all 4 quests are able to be used to set out your heroes on. As just 2 weeks ago, you only had gardening. You only had fishing and foraging. So we could get into more information next week, but we're well overdue for the main section here of what the podcast is, and that is so that's the end of my thing, and that's Star Atlas. So, any questions on DeFi Kingdoms? Any comments?
Hey, Ray, real quick
Yep.
question for you. What's the entry price? What's the floor to get in?
Well, hero floor is around 28 Jewel, and if Jewel right now, crazy run up, it was hovering around 15 to 16 bucks. Just 3 weeks ago, it was around 5 to 6. But nevertheless, the market cap of the project, of the token that's required, is it could run you. What is that? Let me pull up. It could be. Man,
you said a jewel's about $20, and you said how many do you need?
I need 28 to buy the floor hero. Yeah. So quick math.
So what is that? About $600?
Yeah. So ironically, this is almost like a day and night some people would say it's too expensive, but the team is diligent and they're on their shit to make sure that everyone is going to be accessible to play. So now there's an expansion coming out for the AVAX Avalanche network, layer 1. And there's going to be 25% of the tokens renamed from Jewel to Crystal. And they have a great announcement that goes into the rewards, any person and what they're doing in the game so far, whether it's breeding or LP providing or buying or summoning, which is breeding heroes. You'll be able to be rewarded crystal tokens, which again is only 25%, which is going to live on the Avalanche. So the crazy thing about what DeFi is doing is that they're going to expand onto every other network before that network is going to build a game that's going to be similar or trump the DeFi Kingdoms on Harmony, which is where they started. And that's just, it's the smartest thing to do, because they're going to be ahead of the game as far as any group or devs that are going to be like, hey, let's build something on the Ethereum networks that's just like DeFi Kingdoms. So there's a lot of support for the project. The community is strong. And one of the biggest whales, I won't shout out the name, but you could check out the leaderboards for the amount of heroes you hold from the Axie Infinity community, just like a lot of whales that we see in Star Atlas from the Axie Infinity community. And it's just a matter of time. when everyone's, the fish rots from the head down, but in a positive way. In this situation where there's going to be a lot of benefit coming down to these newer projects who are struggling to I guess get in the limelight for token appreciation.
So thanks for that, Ray. And going back to something you mentioned, oh yeah, we appreciate you, brother, for sure. And going back to something you mentioned in the beginning, shout out to the Rome Discord. So these kind of conversations are happening in the Rome Discord every day, every minute, every week, every month. I mean, we're going, we actually add games to our Discord based off the amount of activity in our general chats, and then sometimes we take them out, like Jesse was talking about last week. Sometimes we take them out because of the lack of activity in our general chats. If people are interested in certain games, we talk about them more. They might even make it on the channel. If we're not interested in the game as a guild, then they don't, they disappear. So moving on to general Metaverse news. Before we get into Star Atlas, we have a lot of stuff in Star Atlas today, but before we get on to that, we have a couple of bullets, just general stuff. So Square Enix Holdings, talking about Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Tomb Raider. What's going on with these NFTs?
So their president released a big letter to stockholders on the 1st, and he talks about how the company in general wants to get involved with like blockchain and potentially like create their own token, and it's a really big report with like a lot of buzzwords. But community has been received 50-50, I'd say.
I think you're going to have 50 who don't understand what's going on and 50 who see the vision of the future. I think while Ray was talking about Axie, there was kind of a chat going back and forth in the YouTube channel about in legacy gaming and versus the future. And I think you're going to see some of these big development houses really lean into it and see what's possible and do successful or unsuccessful things along the way. And then I think much like the music industry lost out to streaming music, you're going to see a lot of these legacy houses who don't want to move because their revenue model is what they want, and they're going to fall behind.
So we're gonna go into some more about what you just mentioned there, as far as legacy houses and how they move in. We're gonna go into that some more here in a second, Banjo, because that's an important topic coming up. But go ahead, Ray.
We're gonna see this whole year be filled with announcements like this. So essentially, you've got all of these game companies out there that have been using the legacy model for quite some time. And then, of course, a lot of them made that shift to being able to have their own in-game assets. But, of course, ultimately, they own the asset rather than the player. So now there's this line being drawn in the sand, and we're seeing companies take up different sides, and we're seeing them. The rest of them that haven't made an announcement yet are paying attention to what they're seeing. They're seeing the backlash that Ubisoft got. They're seeing Valve, Steam say, hey, we're drawing a line in the sand here. We're not going to cross it. We are not going to support any NFT-based projects. And then you have like Square Enix here saying, hey, look, we're going to make that call. So it makes you wonder, man, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in these executive rooms where they're discussing with all of the department heads, man, do we make this change? Do we start investing R&D dollars into going that route? Because it's a dangerous thing for a company to pivot, but it's also a dangerous thing for a company to stay complacent. And so that's what all these companies are having to deal with right now. And so it's really interesting to see which ones are actually making that leap and stating that, hey, this is the direction we're going now.
And I think the question for me is, Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Banjo.
I was going to say the question for me is who's going to take some of their war chest and start making acquisitions, right? Because that's what we saw with the internet in the beginning of that era. You had these large companies, and there's EAs and there's other big development houses that don't need to build from scratch. They can just buy. Right. And I think this year we might see a major acquisition somewhere along the way.
I agree.
So I agree with that. And here's the thing. So it's not just about companies, it's also about governments. And you're going to see the same thing happen with NFT gaming. It's all happen with Bitcoin. Okay, nobody wants to be first, nobody wants to be last. And what you're seeing right now, going back to what you were talking about, Jesse, is you're seeing that I don't want to be first, but I don't want to be last negotiation happening amongst corporations in the gaming industry right now. They're saying, hey, these guys, these indie companies are coming out and they're making a ton of money. And now you're going to start seeing some of the big names coming in saying, hey, you know what? I want a piece of that money. And some of the older names saying, hey, wait a minute. I don't like that. I don't want to change my business model, and that's going to happen. Eventually, just like with Bitcoin, everybody's coming to the metaverse. Just like everybody came to crypto, everybody's coming to the metaverse. It's going to happen. And I can say everybody's coming to crypto confidently, even though everybody's not in crypto yet, because it's going to happen. Good morning.
Yeah, I was watching a video this morning about, it was from outside of the industry, but it was related to gaming. And they were talking about how gamers are somewhat hesitant to make the leap or accept NFTs. And they were using like Ubisoft as an example. And I don't know if that's exactly what that represents. I think mostly that represents that gamers don't necessarily trust the developers. And so from that approach, and also it becomes something that's unknown. I think as the on-ramp becomes easier for gamers to wrap their head around what it takes to get involved, and also if there's ways they can do it for a lesser degree of investment, because right now it's the crypto crowd, and the crypto crowd is used to forking out some bucks to do things. It's a little bit different if you see a traditional gamer all of a sudden be called upon to be able to enter a game where they can compete and have to spend $3, $4, $5, $10,000. That is definitely a barrier. I think that once we start seeing, like, I think 600 is reasonable. So like you're talking about DeFi kingdoms, I think that if that can be perceived as an enjoyable experience just for the gaming, because we do have that component, it has to stand out as a fun and enjoyable game on its own and not be sitting on the foundation of it being a crypto play to earn. I think the industry is kind of juggling those balls right now, be it the what's actually fun to play, which is where Gala tries to stand and say, look, we build games that are fun to play first, which is why we're still waiting on the play to earn side over there. And then you have others that are play to earn, but it's you're really not doing a whole lot of playing. So it's kind of like, where's the balance going to be found between the two of those? That's a big piece that's still out there.
I think you're right, Jesse. Crypto native people are willing to shell out more dollars, and unfortunately, some organizations like Gala have understood that, and they're kind of taking advantage of the fact that a lot of people who have been in crypto for a while have a lot of money they're willing to shell out for a lot of these games. Hey, Ultra, before we move on, did you want to? You have a moment? You still with us?
Yeah,
Ultra?
It's gonna be a little loud though, but no, I'm just Square Enix. It really got me excited. I didn't read the whole thing, but I'm really excited. I've been playing Square Enix games since I was 8, so that's like over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And one of the very first games I played was Dragon Quest and Monster Quest, and those were the funnest games I've ever played. And hopefully they do decide to go whole hog into it, because if they do, I'm gonna go whole hog into it. That's one thing I'd back with. As much as I have with Star Atlas.
Yeah, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Tomb Raider, and the legendary Space Invaders.
Yeah, one interesting thing about Final Fantasy being one of them games is they've got a lot of people and content creators from Blizzard and World of Warcraft who were unhappy, and they were very good at being vocal about it. And they're making a big move now, and a lot of them people are going to flex them muscles about how NFTs can be bad without understanding it completely.
Yeah. And just like that company who created Final Fantasy and every other game we know and that we love, they're going to do things that are going to go against what the community wants at times.
Yep.
And you're going to need to either adapt or just not play the game. But you have that added benefit of having any NFTs in this new world we're living in for gaming to sell it and make your money back, or even at a profit at this point. So Axie Infinity, compared to these legacy companies making these moves, it's just like, how far can you really go in the long run to make change, as you will be for an Axie holding more governance token or an Star Atlas holding more Polis token, to have your voice heard as a community instead of just pandering or just getting an attitude problem and just being a keyboard warrior on the internet.
Well, I think we're about to hit a regulatory wall at some point in the future, and I think we're going to talk about this in a little bit. But until right now, with legacy games, if you buy something like a loot box, it's considered a purchase. Where now with crypto, it's an asset, and there's a profit or a loss that's tied to it that has to be claimed with taxes. If they don't get that figured out from a regulatory side, we're going to have countries fighting this every step of the way.
Go ahead, Jesse.
was going to say one of the things that I think is really going to help drive the industry as a whole is the fact that when we think about gaming, one of the elements of these types of games, especially the ones that are full immersion, MMORPGs, is that it's the element of realism. It's the element of the more real it can feel, the more time and effort and emotion you invest into it. And one of the things that kicks that up a notch is when you have skin in the game and when you're earning. And so even though it might be slow right now for traditional gamers to come into the space, I don't think that once they do, they're going anywhere. So because of that, then the floodgates will start to open, because once you taste that element that brings the game more real because there's skin in the game, it's hard to go back to the traditional model where you're just playing to play.
Mm-hmm. So this is a good segue here. We're gonna, I'm gonna go rogue. We're gonna skip through some of these show notes and go to the Korean government tells Apple and Google stores to take down play-to-earn games. The Games Committee has strengthened its stance against play-to-earn games by saying they should not receive an age rating needed to get listed on app marketplaces. So what you're seeing here is like they used to say in the Bitcoin community, it's like first they laugh, then they fight, then you win, right? So we haven't seen negative regulation in the NFT gaming space yet. And this is the first time we're starting to see. This is huge. This is huge for us. Obviously, there's a lot of success. Some of us, we all know people who have, amongst our guild, we have people who are basically professional play-to-earn gamers now. We have people who have become millionaires because they were early in some of these games. And this is something that's not going to go away. Economy of the Philippines was, in a way kind of taken over in certain areas because of Axie Infinity, right? This is a threat to governments because these are, in a way, their own governments. These are their own worlds, and they're competing with the real world. So what do you guys think about how things are going and where regulation is going? I mean, I think I'm the only real resident cypherpunk in the six of us is like, what, everything needs to be decentralized, everything needs to be, I'm in Gala because they were talking decentralization, even though I feel like they're not ever going to get there. I'm in Star Atlas because Star Atlas is talking decentralization. I really like when Michael Wagner talks about, hey, eventually we might not even be the main developer on the game because we might get voted out by the community. That makes me really love the idea.
Well, you just
because I care about that a lot.
Yeah, you just mentioned Gala, and Gala made an announcement within the past month or so that they're putting a lot of effort into Korea for their gaming competitions. And so now I'm curious what the impact will be. If they're a big game in the play to earn crypto blockchain gaming space, and they've got their sights set on Korea. And now you got Korean government giving pushback. I wonder what the impact will be over there.
What's interesting about crypto news from different countries is it seems to flip-flop back and forth so often. I mean, how many times have we heard China's, getting rid of crypto, or India isn't going to allow crypto?
They've banned it probably about 10 times over
That's
time.
their own version of pump and dump.
Yeah, it is that way.
Well, it's part of the market cycle. They do it the timing is perfect, like you say, Jesse. Go ahead, Mantra.
And there could be something lost in translation as well, right? If you're getting another language's news and people are taking bits and pieces out of it, I'm sure it's the same way when it's an English news going the opposite way. You're only hearing the horror stories. You're not hearing the nuance. So there may be more to this story. I think there's governments who are afraid of not being able to control assets, but something's got to be figured out. I think the reason that they gave, the gaming committee or the games committee, said it shouldn't receive an age rating to get listed, yet they'll let a game like Candy Crush, where kids can charge up thousands of dollars on their parents' checkbook. It's kind of a bullshit.
Well, you just nailed it, Banjo. You and I think a lot of times, right? So realistically, what's really going on here? They're using the tools they have, which are imperfect, to try to legislate or correct a behavior they don't want to see. Okay, what's the behavior they don't want to see? They don't want to see people in their country that they have control over leaving their country without leaving, earning a living without their being able to tax it, and then being able to take that money and move it around the world. They don't even have to. They don't even have to spend it in that local economy. They can move it around the world without anybody stopping them. Mm-hmm. This is a thing that is going to be scary to a lot of countries because the ability to go where you're treated best. Shout out to the nomad capitalists out there on YouTube, right? The ability to go where you're treated best has been a thing. Digital nomads have been a thing, and this is taking it was a high skill set to be a digital nomad. You know, Jesse can speak to this. Like it's a high skill set to be a guy that can move around the world and make what I've started to call Wi-Fi money, where you're getting your money off the internet. You know, now gaming has allowed people in the Philippines who might not have, you know, a whole lot of resources or a whole lot of education or anything, but just good at playing video games. You might be able to just move around the world all of a sudden because you're great at Axie. You know, if you're a top player in Axie right now, even with Axie being down, if you're a top player in Axie right now, you can move around the world and move through different third world countries just off your Axie levels. I mean, that's still possible for a lot of people, even with Axie being down. Me and Jesse are down Axie all day because of the situations we see our scholars in who aren't necessarily those top players, you know, but top players in Axie, they're gods. You're destined to be a millionaire, you know, and that's going to be the same in a lot of these games. If you're a great player in a lot of these games, you're going to be doing okay. The professional gaming is here because of NFT gaming.
Hey, Brain Amazing said something in chat I think we've discussed, but I think it's worth saying again because we get different viewers in. But my personal perspective, when Bitcoin or the crypto market hits a bear cycle, you're going to see the utility of games. If they're good games and the coins and the NFTs are being used often and a lot in the game, I think it's going to drive an upward price pressure on Star Atlas, Gala, that stuff like that. Any other thoughts on that?
I think this space, one of the things that makes this segment of the market as a whole unique is how community driven it is. Mm-hmm. And so I think that kind of creates a bit of a buffer to have, you know, the tokenomics and the projects themselves act and behave a little bit differently than you will see the rest of the market. And we already see that. If you go and segment and look at like Metaverse tokens or you look at NFT projects, you can already see them start to detour a little bit from what we see with the overall Bitcoin cycle. However, because the Bitcoin cycle is the dominant cycle, it is definitely going to have an impact for sure.
I think both of you just touched on it, right? So shout out to Gary V out there. He was the one that first made it clear to me that NFTs are about community. And so this is what you saw back in April when we had that previous all-time high. Is we went into a kind of a bearish kind of market. It wasn't a full bear market, but it was a bearish type of market where we went down. I think Bitcoin dropped $20,000, right? So in that time, what happened? Bored Ape Yacht Club was born. You know, the NFT boom happened. You know, you had Visa buying a CryptoPunk in that time, right? So this is letting you know that community behavior is not the same as market behavior. And so the Bitcoin market, yes, that leads the crypto market, and NFTs are a part of crypto, but there are communities in crypto that aren't going to just go away or disappear because Bitcoin decides to go into a extended bear run. You know, and so that's an interesting question. Nobody knows because it hasn't happened yet. We haven't gone into an extended bear run with NFTs being a thing, really. So this is going to be the first time it happens. Whenever Bitcoin does go back into its bearish cycle, this is going to be the first time that happens, and we're going to all witness it live. I tend to think, like Banjo does, that communities are going to be just as strong as they were without Bitcoin. And so I think this is going to be the first time you're going to see a divergence of certain crypto markets away from Bitcoin. You might even see like an Axie, like AXS token might diverge from Bitcoin. You know, Star Atlas token, you know, Polis, a lot of these gaming tokens, because people aren't going to stop playing these games.
Yeah, the narrative definitely changed within this past year for NFTs, and they're going to be the cornerstone of people not losing as much money as they would have had when the bear market comes. And then there's all the talk about the cycles that was led by Bitcoin for the 4 years, you know, the 4 year on and off, and that might be not the case anymore. We'll have to see, because now we're going to have maybe a quarterly bull run maybe a short-term bear market, like because of just the nature of NFTs, the gaming, and all the money that's coming in outside of just what Bitcoin is and what it's known for, which is a store of value. So the store of value thing is now it could be whatever you want it to be, whatever you see a store of value is. It's for big money, they're going to be more comfortable in maybe a Bitcoin or Ethereum because it's going to be less volatile over a shorter period of time. I think so. It's going to be more stable for larger amounts of money, but not everyone's diving balls deep yet again into what's actually happening on the ground level outside of what just the top 10 tokens are and what those market cap prices are. So,
but I think the group that will take a hit and may have some sort of cascading pressure on prices of crypto is the PFP groups, the people who spent significant amounts of money and just expect that their art is going to maintain its value. Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be some projects that do just because of the people who are holding them, who probably won't sell them. But I think there's a lot of PFPs out there that are probably overpriced, and we're already seeing some of those projects start to go down in price.
Definitely. Well, shout out to Gary Vee once again, Banjo. I mean, he said 98% of these NFT projects will go to zero. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important to think about when you're talking about PFPs, because they don't have the utility that these gaming projects do. So I never understood the PFPs. It took me, I bought my first PFP in the last month, I didn't get it. And so with gaming, I understand it because there's a lot of utility there, and I understand how games can have economies. And so I understand that if you take that economy, you merge it with the real world economy, all of a sudden you have an actual economy, that's actually like its own government, its own country, basically, in a way. You don't have that with a lot of these PFPs. Some of them you do, like I say, CyberKongs, and a lot of these guys are like, I think Cool Cats. They actually are making income off of their PFPs now. I think those types of projects are going to last, but projects that don't have enough utility built in, I think you're right. They're going to disappear.
There's a few out there that are actually starting to change their model. Even though they started as a PFP, they're realizing, okay, we acquired a good sum of money through this mint. But now what do we do? So some of them are kind of redefining themselves after the fact, and some of them are starting DAOs that then go out and purchase whether it's in-game tokens. Like there's one that I'm in that actually holds quite a considerable amount of alluvium. And so they're going to later do distributions that way. So they're starting to get creative and say, hey, now that we are here as a group, what do we have in common and what do we want to create? So that's pretty cool to see some of these groups, these PFPs, do it after the fact. So now you don't just have an art piece, you actually are a part of a group, and they're rethinking the whole idea of community.
Yeah, you have some that are buying other PFP projects even, cannibalizing the PFP system. And, I just had a thought while you were talking, Jesse, and, I'm just going to go ahead and give this away online. I mean, I'm waiting for the first PFP project that turns into a REIT. A real estate investment,
there's already, it's not a PFP project, but there already is ProP, which like is an NFT and an NFT real estate process.
Right.
It's sold over in Ukraine. I think they're selling their next house in San Francisco soon.
Well, I was teasing last week about starting Island DAO. You want a piece of an island?
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
This happens to be in the Antarctic, right?
Right.
I got some swampland in Florida. I need all of you guys to come out, jump in on. So
it's funny.
Go ahead, Ray. You got something?
I was gonna say it's funny because there's an actual project that's turning into a game, which I have the Ultra Blade and the Silver Palm, which is called Nifty Island. And technically that's exactly what's happening, where it's not, they have their own DAO, but it's called Nifty Island, where you're not going to buy, as you do with other projects, a deed or a land plot, where your land or your island in this instance is going to be free, and it's going to be up to you to generate the traffic onto your island with games that are going to be built for people to play. By the community and by the project themselves, the devs, and no one's going to need to buy land because everyone's going to be able to just have an island, and then you can do what you want on that island and bring people to that island, and then you can generate funds based off of how many people come there. And so it's pretty cool. It's a developing project. It's pretty sound.
Nice.
Yeah, so this was This was a picture we also found this week. Dave Chappelle bought a Bored Ape. I believe also Eminem.
I'm about to say, do you have the shot for Eminem too, or no?
No, I just got this one at the moment.
Okay. Well, so Eminem, one of the Bored Apes shouted out Eminem on Twitter yesterday as well for the same thing. So, you go back to it, Fancy, if you wanted to, but I was
Can you
just
throw that
thinking
picture back up?
Yeah, a lot of celebrities are moving into these projects. So you have CryptoPunks was the first. I mean, Jay-Z famously, his Twitter profile pic is a CryptoPunk, right? And then now a lot of big timers are moving into the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Bored Ape Yacht Club flipped CryptoPunks for a moment about a week or two ago, as far as total value, right? So these things aren't going away. This is going back to what you were saying earlier, Jesse. It's like certain of these projects aren't going anywhere. Going back to what Gary Vee said, 98% are going to disappear.
Well, I can't let this picture go away without just looking at that last sentence there and not picture it in Chappelle's voice when he says that. If that's his account name, I think that's hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that's
I'm looking at that account. There's an interesting selection of NFTs in that account.
Oh, is there anything?
Is it really?
Is it risque or?
Can you share it?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's. Let me share this.
This is Dave Chappelle's account, apparently.
As far as we know, yeah.
As far as we know.
Share screen.
Breaking news: total value locked $1 billion for DeFi Kingdoms just within
Boom.
An hour and a half.
Is there a time lock on those?
For the jewels?
The DeFi Kingdoms, the lock?
Yes. So if you're putting in money, there's for LP providing, there's going to be a lock of funds that are gonna be locked, and then you can harvest a certain amount. So
But
I don't know if
like a 30, 60, 90, 180. Doesn't Illuvium have like a time lock where you can't get it out?
I think it's a year if you stake it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you just hold it, you can just convert it anytime.
Yeah, there's a chart that shows what you're going to lose, and it gets lower and lower as far as the penalty for pulling out early, for what you have in that stack of jewel. But by July 15th, I think it is when it's going to be the same amount for withdrawal for everyone across the board, which is like it's going to be the cheapest. So you would get you would be penalized highly if you just put in tomorrow and then take it out the next day. But the cool thing about the mining profession is that if you have heroes that are mining or gardening rather, you can unlock more rewards sooner. So the mining is where you're going to unlock more rewards sooner, and it hasn't been totally active yet. You can only earn gold. And then for gardening, you can have heroes in the gardening profession that earn you and find you jewel. So you have that double whammy going on.
Yeah. Jesse, were you able to get that and pull it up?
Yeah, I'm on a new computer, so I'm having some permission issues sharing my screen right now. So
got it.
No worries, brother. This will be a topic for another day because this isn't going to stop happening where these celebrities are moving in. And I think that would be interesting for us to talk about what different celebrities who happen to have doxed themselves on the blockchain have in their wallets. I mean, that's something we could definitely probably
and we'll consider. Yeah, and consider this too. No, even if you do find their wallet, a couple things. One, we don't know for sure that this is their wallet, but even if it is suspected as being a wallet, you're going to find a ton of junk in there because people will want to use that as a billboard to be able to send things to that wallet just so they get get their image listed there.
You know what? You just mentioned something important, right? Because OpenSea, you can get drops to your wallet because you're active in the metaverse, right? And on my hidden tab in OpenSea, I have a ton of stuff that I can't touch because security wise, if you try to burn NFTs, there's a chance that somebody could have hacked you and they can actually, if you send a certain NFT out, you might end up sending out more than that one NFT. You might send out more NFTs, you might send out more currency, etc. So it's a dangerous thing, and so you just leave them hidden, you don't touch them. And then sometimes you get airdropped and they end up in your hidden tab and you don't even know that you got them. You know, people have sent famously Shiba Inu, I think, sent Vitalik Buterin a bunch of their token, right? So these are things that happen. Moving on in general metaverse news before we move on to Star Atlas, the Phantom Wallet launches mobile version on December 28th. Users will be able to experience the app while it remains just weeks away from its official launch. You have a picture for that, Fancy?
Yeah, and I had to remove it so I could upload the other one. It was just like a basic Phantom app picture, but yeah, 1,000 people got into a free beta, and yeah, apparently it's going to be coming soon. Then I think I'd expect like first quarter, but
I can't wait.
I haven't seen a date anywhere. Yeah, it'd be a lot of adoption.
Yeah, I mean the Phantom Wallet is the one that I mainly use dealing with Star Atlas, and I like it. It's very seamless. I use it on Radium all the time as well, and I've been hurting waiting for that mobile app because the Solana's ecosystem is one of the few ecosystems I can't deal with when I'm moving around. So that'll be good.
Yeah, I think if they put a browser in the Phantom app and allow you to access Star Atlas, it'd make it real nice to be able to go in and manage your fleet really quick and resupply.
Oh man, it'd be a game changer, bro.
Yeah, the challenge with that though is that Star Atlas page or site itself is not very mobile responsive, and so it's really hard to actually even see some of what you're doing on there in any browser at this time. So hopefully they coincide an update to more mobile friendly with that around the time that Phantom becomes available.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Star Atlas devs. I mean, I think they come off break tomorrow, so maybe they'll watch the podcast and get ready for that, because that'd be amazing if we could manage our fleets mobile. I think they were initially. Didn't they talk about having a mobile game or a mobile app at some point?
I think it's on the roadmap. I just don't think they're prioritizing it, and maybe rightfully so. I mean, they got Score out.
Yeah.
I know they're working on more.
I mean, Score was a lot. Score was more than we could ask for, right? I mean, I think we're all happy with that. So shout out to Star Atlas.
Anybody who's bought ships better be happy, because it's damn fine money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you've had your ships, because what I've been seeing, looking at that website we showed last week from the club, the market is changing and fluctuating because of the amount that people are paying for ships versus the amount people can earn off of ships, and that the constant APR fluctuation is causing movement in the market, which is a good thing. That's what you want to see, right? But that what it also means is that the people that were there early are going to get rewarded the most, which is, that's valid and important. And the people that are new, you're going to see a different kind of market depending on the day you come in, and you're going to have to just like the stock market or the crypto market or anything else, on the day you come in, you got to make your choices based on what's there that day. It's going to be an interesting thing moving forward.
So, one of the things I find interesting so far is that the launch date was the 16th for Star Atlas, and at that time Atlas was at 12.4, so 12.4 cents. And it saw a low of about 9.2 cents then, bounced all the way back up to 11.7, and now it's sitting at 10.6. So what's interesting about that to me is that I think, at least I did, my anticipation was that the moment that you begin pumping more Atlas in through rewards, that you might likely see the price go down. That's just my basic understanding of tokenomics, is that as you start adding more to the supply, but that also depends on whether or not people are holding it or selling it. And so it's pretty amazing that it stayed above 10 cents. So a lot of people had the question of, well, what was going to happen if all of a sudden the price of Atlas tanked? Well, and then of course our Atlas leadership said that they would adjust the rewards accordingly to stay within that VWAP value price of what the actual, the ship was worth, kind of thing. So I think it's pretty cool that they haven't really had to make any adjustments, and that it thus far, 2 weeks in, that it's been holding. I think that's pretty impressive. It says a lot about the overall economic plan thus far, and it makes me wonder, like on the Star Atlas side, are they like, yeah, it's holding pretty much where we thought? Are they surprised? What do they think about it?
I think it's interesting. Go ahead, Ultra.
No, I was just going to say, isn't it because we're actually using it for something other than buying ships, but we have to buy the resources to run the ships for staking, and
that probably accounts for somewhat. Where do you think in the neighborhood of 15%? I've done the numbers on it, but it's not that much. But it is also nice to know that is going into, to the DAO itself, to the tune of something like $40,000-$50,000 a day, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably has even scaled a little bit more since then. But
the DAO's looking great.
Yeah.
So before we go into Star Atlas too much, I wanted to give a shout out to one of the members of our guild, PG, who has been with us as far as a lot of the giveaways and such we've been doing. Fancy Hat, you have more information on that? Fancy.
Yeah.
There you go.
So he did a couple of giveaways over the winter, and one of them included land, and we didn't mention that on the last podcast, but
PG, we love you.
Yeah, he also does like invite competitions. He gave us the first prize to give away, and I'll let that lead us into the showroom talk, because he was also like leading this type of discussion within Rome about how these like empty bays in the gameplay trailer could potentially be like empty bays for like the showroom. So yeah, and it's all quite interesting thinking that we could be seeing like the next step now, and all of it does look like it fits together really. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's any secret they're working on showroom module right now. I think the video that came out seems to be maybe a trailer for it. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm not sure if you guys watched the video last week or not, but
yeah, we did.
Just seeing it live and seeing it moving, and it felt like it was flying into the showroom. I'm just wondering if that's kind of your introduction to the showroom, and then you go into the actual showroom as an observer or a player.
Yeah, it was labeled as gameplay, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't it really just rendered within the engine? I wouldn't necessarily refer to that as gameplay. So I think that's kind of a good question on a lot of minds.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, I just want to shout out PG doing some work for us with Rome, or with us on our Twitter. So make sure you follow that. You could like and subscribe as well. But PG has been a staple and a huge supporter of Rome and its council and members, and helps whenever you can. So yeah, when it comes to giveaways or just answering people's questions, it's amazing what the different types of community members we have and what they do for us. So we appreciate you all, man.
Well, I call PG the Midas touch, because the guy just has a knack for picking winners. I mean, the guy, if you want to find and see what people are looking into and investing in, follow PG on Twitter, because he does have a knack. There's something there.
The only reason we haven't had
is that I mean, shout out to all the guild members of Rome in general, because I'm not in touch with everybody that we roll with in Discord on Twitter, but there are quite a few who shout out the guild and are talking about Rome and talking about the Metaverse Nomads and talking about Star Atlas all the time. But PG is one of the main ones who I actually personally retweet a lot. At InvestGeek, I retweet PG all the time. Also, Hypocryptic, that we've had on the channel, she does a lot of stuff talking about Star Atlas all the time. So these are good people to follow if you're interested in some of these games we're talking about.
Yeah, PG has already been mentioned. He does run our Twitter, which is at Rome Guild on Twitter. But also, I mean, as we've mentioned in the past, he was also really who brought Star Atlas to our attention, most of us anyway, and has been an active part of the guild since we've made that kind of transition to heavy focus on Star Atlas. So definitely an awesome member of our community that we would have had him on here a lot sooner, but being that he lives down under, it's a time zone thing, trying to make sure we're all on at the same time. So one of these mornings, you're just going to have to get up really early, PG.
That's the thing, right? Like, I think we've tried to get him on a couple of times, and that's been the issue. It's the time zone difference. So
yeah, how about we move on to like the amount staked this week? And it actually got revealed to us 2 hours before the podcast, which was really convenient.
Nice.
Yeah, this information straight out of the oven.
And when they say 70,000 fleets, do you think they mean 70,000 individual ships?
I think that means like one ship or a group. That's why I would assume a fleet is, because you add more ships to a fleet, even if it's just the one.
What's a little frustrating about the whole fleet model, though, is that let's say that you've got 5, X5s in a fleet, and they're out on mission. Let's say you add a couple more to your inventory, you can't actually commit them. They're like, they got to sit there unless you pull the existing fleet out of mission, and then you send them all collectively back to get out there, because you can't have 2 different fleets of X5s or two different fleets of any same type of ship out there. So
you can actually add them to a fleet that's already existing.
Yeah, I was able to add a ship.
There's a little ticker that you can increase or add from refueling, whether it's food, ammo, or...
Well, that's good to know. I went through that process and tried it and couldn't figure it out, and I actually pulled some ships out to add to it. So there you go. Now I'm learning. Good.
Well, what hurts me the most is like when you buy new ships, then those fleets are like not as seasoned as your other ships. I'm worried that wants everything to be like orderly, and makes my OCD act up a little bit, that as I upgrade into more and more fleets, they're going to be younger. But that makes a lot of sense, because I mean that's obviously how the game is going to be played, right? So that's cool.
So then it actually doesn't matter then if you pull them out or not, because once you commit additional ships to it, you're resetting them anyway. Is that what's happening? Okay, got it.
The earnings just continue from where it was, in addition to that new ship you added to that fleet, which is the same ship on that line of fleets. But what they need to do is actually put a claim all for these ships, because I taking a good couple of minutes between many games to claim all these Atlas tokens. So.
Well, something I just noticed is that I think I noticed last night that when I hit resupply, I repaired as well. Like I hit resupply all, and it repaired all as well. So that's functionality that wasn't there a couple of days ago. So I think they're slowly upgrading and making it more user friendly. You might see a button later on where you can just claim all. That might happen.
It'll be interesting because there's all.
I'm hoping they do a claim all. That'd be nice.
Yeah. The question I have for you guys, and I've been out of the loop for the month doing my personal stuff, but had they explained what a seasoned fleet is versus a non-seasoned fleet?
So basically, it's a rank that will lead us on to this picture supplied by the club. They somehow found out these numbers, and yes, six days, no badge, and then as you go on to the 7th, it becomes seasoned, and then hardened, veteran, elite. And when I saw this, it kind of prompted me to buy a ledger, because when I switch everything over, it's going to lose that rank because I'm putting it on a new account. So
we were talking about that in Discord. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, if you're thinking about a ledger, then do it as soon as possible, really, because you're going to lose like less days staking. And that's really
Now, do you think this is going to give you any sort of perks in the game?
By the time you get to elite, your crew doesn't eat anymore.
hard. They're a hardened crew by that point. They're like, we don't eat.
Yeah.
We mean repairs. We don't need repairs. Yeah. Living like the Millennium Falcon out here. Just give me a wrench and some duct tape. We're good.
Yeah. So in Rome, we've been having this discussion about whether this is in Unreal Engine 5. Wow. And it really does look great. But one thing is when you compare it to the other one, this one has like red lights coming out, and the other one has blue lights. I'm a bit confused about which one.
That might be artistic license there. Can we go to the next one?
This one?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, that's just, that ship resonates. That whole fleet or that whole shipbuilding company resonates with me. I think.
I didn't like it in the beginning when we were first looking at the pictures of it, but now these later shots are starting to make me kind of respect the ship a great deal more. I still am more likely to buy a Rainbow Ohm, just because the Rainbow Ohm is so much cooler. But but these look decent.
Well, Heaven just drove 2 U-Hauls across the country in December. This resonates well with him.
You wish you'd had one of these, huh?
No kidding.
4 cargo containers. So that just seems though,
you get a whole house in that easy.
Yeah, when I size this up though, I don't know about the amount of, when you just look at this ship, the amount that it takes to fly this thing, and it's really only for cargo containers. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we've talked about this in the past, that I associate this with a traditional sized cargo container. Maybe these things are bigger, but it just seems like that ship should be able to haul a bit more than that. Maybe it does. So.
It's funny.
So
you say
we
that
had this
'cause
conversation. We had this conversation in our Discord this week, Jesse, and what one of our guys in our guild was saying is that you got to remember the size of the ship, you know. And so when we get up to the bigger ships, the Anomaly class freighter and the Titan class freighter, that's when you're probably going to start seeing the amount of containers that can go on our traditional cargo ships represented in Star Atlas.
That's what I was thinking. Is we haven't seen the larger cargo ships yet, and I imagine we'll see them in FY22. But I mean, until then, we've got what we've got, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a smaller, smaller version. I mean, if you compare that to a tractor that's pulling a container down the highway, I mean, what does that thing have? 3 or 4 more? So
Right.
It's kind of winning in a way if you compare it to a truck. Now, if you compare it to a ship, yeah, and it's easy to compare it to a ship because it's a ship, and a spaceship is also a ship. But I think that's the smallest version of it. So let's pull up this luxury yacht club picture.
So the next questions, the next pictures were brought to us by Lumina. He runs Coexist, and you can tell straight away these are it's the same ship from the trailer,
Right?
just the way the engines are positioned, even though they aren't on in the trailer. And it does look absolutely huge. It doesn't look like it's all there. Like perhaps this is just one part to it, because when you look at it on this, there's the giant dome and everything else. But
right,
maybe it's
or are
that
they
big.
pulling into a space station? Maybe.
Perhaps. But yeah, and
What a tease.
he also shared this with us today.
Wow.
Apparently, this is a land claim. I'm not sure where he got it from, really, but it looks quite realistic.
So that looks similar to some other art we've seen. That one right there, right? We've seen some pictures of drone towers or drone manufacture plants or something that look very similar to that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting.
Just the polys there. I mean, just thinking what that it will be in Unreal 5 in game with all the polys.
That's beautiful.
And a few more landscape shots were released. And this is one we saw on Twitter. I'm not sure if we talked about it before, but I quite like the guy with the magic metal carpet.
That's a hovering platform.
The foreman. So
Now,
this
does this look like it's inside of a ship?
Does to me.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a larger cargo ship, back to our earlier conversation.
If so, it looks like it would be a larger something within the rainbow.
Good point.
Because it looks very interior-ish, similar to what we've seen in the Ohm.
It does, yeah. Maybe I think it's a bit too big to be the Ohm.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So these come from ArtStation, but Lumina was the one who brought it to our attention, and they're always adding a few more images here and there. It's quite hard to keep on top of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists there.
Yeah, another possibility is that we've been told that there's quite a few more actually ship builders. So there's going to be some different models coming of makes that we have not seen yet.
Right.
Yeah, and we looked at where is it? The Thimble Lobby last week, and I said we didn't know where that was from. Swagner dropped it in the chat, so this is a confirmed leak.
Nice.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Definitely has that Fifth Element cab, or even maybe a Pluto Nash car, one of those.
Going back to what you were just saying, Jesse, that's the interesting thing about it is they have these different ship manufacturers, right? And they all have their own different styles. I'm a fan of the Rainbow, but I'm also a fan of the Thimble. So they're going to continually keep pushing these envelopes with these particular manufacturers, but now you're saying how they're going to have more manufacturers coming in the future. So these are going to be different styles of ships in the future that are also going to affect the market and whatnot. Shout out to AEP. Maybe they eventually get to have their own style of ship as well. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the two for Feist, what you got, Ray?
No, I said word. In agreement.
Oh. Yeah. So the two for Feist, they sold out today at OG price.
Yeah,
So,
and this
go
is a
ahead.
screen cap from when I saw like 527 be sold at once. Yeah, it was floating around like the main Discord, and the guy immediately like bought all the resources to run it for like a really long time. So there's another.
So watch out when you're out there in the astro belts.
So for those of you who don't know, and this is what's happening in the metaverse right now. Like the 2 for Feist is a ship that I actually liked quite a bit. At one point, it was sitting, as far as the club website was saying, it was at a 146% APR, which was a great deal. It was down at like $600 per ship, and I did a different investment instead. Now they're up currently on the club website. Looking like they went up about $200 per ship, so that's a quick $230 right now. So this is what's happening in the Star Atlas ecosystem right now. This is what's happening in the Star Atlas market, and you have to pay attention to all these markets at the same time, or whatever markets you want to be engaged in. You got to pay attention to all of them because they're all going to move around. And so now the 2 for Feist is not as great a buy as it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's 128 APR.
Yeah,
we've seen that happen with almost every ship.
Yes, we have. And 128 is not bad, but 146 would have been way better, And so it's not about not getting in; it's about jumping on what you want when you see it. Yes, when WEN when jump in there because these things are moving, and not to get yourself hurt or invest what you can't afford to lose or anything like that. But you got to be active in these markets, and the people who are active early are the ones who are going to get rewarded. Good morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's about attention span right now because people are earning. The attention span, the focus is on Atlas and earnings there and on these ships. So I think that ties in with what's being asked here. Do we think that Polis staking will be bad for the price of ships in Atlas due to people dumping it for Polis? Because we probably saw about the opposite of that. We saw people probably getting rid of some of their Polis to be able to get in on these ship sales. And when I say attention span, like right before, all the way up until the 16th, there were deals there on ships that were as much as 40% plus. Mm-hmm. I mean, I grabbed a ton of the Opal jets at $186. And like within a couple days of people realizing,
hell of a buy, man.
Now it's sitting at $320 per ship. So I think that once Polis becomes available, or at least once the DAO becomes available, and again, this is just my 2 cents on it, we're going to see Polis jump back up probably pretty quickly to at least around 10. I think once the attention span's there, once the attention and focus is there because people are actually making money through the DAO, you're going to see a balance. But I don't think it's going to affect ships at all. I think that's just going to call more people into the project and into the space now that there becomes 2 ways to earn. And then, of course, that will also layer on top of when more starts up later this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's just going to layer on interest. I don't think it's going to suppress ship value.
So do you guys think most people are hoarding Atlas and maybe putting it into a pool, or do you think they're turning it into Polis? What do you think the majority of people are doing?
I'm turning it into Polis right now. Polis is like really undervalued.
Mm-hmm. Yes, same here. Good old Tree Arrow doing its thing, straight into Polis.
Yeah.
At some point, though, if everybody does that and the next latest and greatest ship comes out, it is going to have a sell-off, component to it. I think what the real challenge with the devs will be is how do they balance the earnings of the DAO versus the earnings of the ship, because that is going to move people who are more financially minded into the better return.
And there's blocking too. There's going to be there's going to be something like, I don't know what the low end is. I think it's like 6 months, maybe 3 months, but and then all the way up to 3 years, 36 months. So the higher earnings are going to come with a longer staking period. So, yeah.
And I think the challenge there is you don't know what comes in a year, right? So you're committing to locking up for a year, and maybe that polis has a different utility that you want to get out of that lock. So there is a risk of over committing yourself into a locked asset.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we wonder with Illuvium, for those of us that have been locked in there for some time. It's still even from, I think it's like until next August before some of the first of it begins being released, at least for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
is that tweet for you?
Oh, thank you, Fancy. So I wanted to give a shout out right quick to a Hippo Cryptic friend of the show, Ashes _LS on Twitter, and another friend of the show, Koji-san, shouting us out on Twitter. Yeah, two friends of the show out there on the Twitter in the Twitterverse, shouting us out, getting the live stream promoted, and much love to both of you. Happy New Year. Hope you guys are doing well. So last thing on Star Atlas, we had 141,000 Discord members last week, and this week we're up to 143,000. So that's a couple thousand more members coming in after a week of successful score earnings. What do you guys think about that kind of growth?
Does seem a bit slower than usual, but has been the holidays and the team hasn't been active. So yeah, looking forward to what they're posting when they get active again tomorrow. I assume it's going to be a lot of stats about the game and trying to catch us up on the next modules, sort of the showroom and the DAO.
I think what's interesting is they aren't really pushing the earnings socially. They're more into total value locked and what each faction has, which is a good thing to share, because I think that demonstrates the size of the project. But if there was people out there who understood what the returns were, and that was being socialized more, I think you'd see more people coming into the space.
We had someone last week comment during the show under the name M. Wagner, but we weren't quite sure if that was the original or just someone else, and they were suggesting at that time that the total values locked was 100 mil, and turns out we find out later in the Discord that those numbers were accurate. So very well could have been him. And with that, also we have planted the seed and reached out. So chances are we will have some of the folks from Star Atlas here on the show with us here in the new year.
Fantastic.
Friend of the show, Michael Wagner, and friend of the show, Santi, and several other Star Atlas top dev team people. That's one of the communities that has been the more friendly to, I think, their entire community, not just us as Metaverse Nomads, but I think they communicate and reach out to the entire community a lot more than you see a lot of other development teams. I know Santi has been on Hypocryptic's Twitter Spaces quite a bit, and they move around the Metaverse in a way that's a lot more friendly, a lot more open, a lot more honest, and that makes you feel a lot more safer when you're putting significant amounts of money into a project. So, once again, as always, shout out to the Star Atlas team. I think they're doing some of the best work in the space. So moving on, if anybody has anything left on Star Atlas before we move on. Well, we got Gala Games up next. Gala Games. Good old Gala. So the Steph Curry flows. So they did the drops for the DCL, the Decentraland version. They did the drop for the sandbox version of the shoe, and then the Townstar version still is not available yet. They did drop the courts, so they have basketball courts that you can drop on your Townstar situation right now, and those are earning not a great amount. But apparently the shoes being activated as well will give you a bonus. So we'll see how that goes. The prices have dropped quite a bit, so I was able to get the courts at a lot cheaper than they were previously sold for. The shoes are down quite a bit, so they're basically in a fire sale right now. If you ever thought about getting them, you're going to get them way cheaper than I got mine. So that's a cool thing if you want to jump on that. The full court press is what they're calling the bonus you're supposed to get when the shoes and the courts go live. So we'll see what happens in Townstar. Once again, you never know what's going to happen with Gala games. They never give you any kind of information on your investment, so you don't know if it's a good investment or a bad investment until you've already shut out the money. So we'll see what happens with them.
Hasn't one of the community members gone through and created a spreadsheet that shows kind of the earnings in Townstar you can get from the different assets? I swear I've seen that somewhere.
Yes. So there are. So you can actually you kind of know what you're going to get from all the assets that have been available for a while. However, the new assets are new, so they don't ever tell you ahead of time what the assets are going to be worth. So the courts, nobody knew what they were going to get paid for the courts until they were already out and getting paid for them, which actually took another whole day, I think, after the courts actually dropped into being purchasable, right? Same for the shoes. The shoes, like I said, you won't know what you're going to be able to get off the shoes until the 6th or the 7th. And then, but for the older stuff that's been in the game for a while, yes, you can. There are people who have spreadsheets out there in the metaverse where you can go out there and look at the different assets before you buy them, know what kind of town coin you're going to earn per day, which will let you know what your ROI is going to be based off what you have to pay for them, which is a smart thing to do, because you can get an ROI in Townstar currently, but you should look at those numbers and look at them with a grain of salt, probably. And then, if you want to get into the game, then go ahead and do it. The Miranda's Vox are one of the other new entries into the space, right? You're supposed to be able to earn off those Miranda's Vox. Nobody knows what you're going to be able to earn off those either. And they've said that you're going to earn less than what you can earn off of the Townstar Vox, which I think the lowest you can earn off a Townstar Vox is around $30 USD per day. So, if you're gonna earn less off of Miranda's Vox, and is it really more valuable than the Townstar Voxels? Which currently, right now, if you look on OpenSea, the Miranda's Vox are selling for a lot more than the Townstar Vox. So that's an interesting, comparison.
One quick detour, because I before that goes down the thread, I just wanted to say thanks, Chipto, for confirming that was Wagner last week. And also, man, we absolutely want you to jump on the show this year. Dude, I was checking you out on LinkedIn, man, and your background is really impressive. And I'm really curious how that ties in with what you are doing over there for Star Atlas, because you have some really interesting real world experience as it relates to real world space missions and satellites and all that sort of thing. And I'm really curious what that ties in with you and what you're doing over there for Star Atlas. So we absolutely want to have you on the show and have a conversation about that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, shout out to Chipto. Thank you for always being there in the comments, man, and watching. And we appreciate everybody who hops into the comments. Don't think that anything that you have on your mind while we're talking, you're like, oh, nobody cares. We care. Drop it in the comments. You might end up on the screen. So
we'll
go ahead and do
you.
it.
Give you a hug.
So going back to
being a hippie. Go ahead.
Going back to Townstar, I started playing at the beginning of December before my free time got soaked up, and it's actually it's fun, right? I was enjoying myself.
It is. It's a nice little sim game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was getting my Townstar, and I'm kind of kicking myself in my butt for not getting something that generated Townstar. And it seems like the people who believed in the game and bought some assets up front are making some really good money. I mean, we got Mega Raid Boss here said he's earning 13 town for the Gala Warp shoes now. But I have a feeling Mega Raid Boss has a lot more assets that he's playing Townstar with. And I know we have Monty in our guild who makes quite a bit of Townstar. Is any of you playing it for pretty good returns?
I mean, I've been making a couple of dollars a day, but I have those Warp shoes, Mega Ray Boss. So I'm gonna be in your DMs very shortly after the podcast. You have to explain it because I haven't been able to get it dropped into my Gala wallet. So maybe it's my fault that I haven't earned off those shoes yet.
So for those that don't understand like the whole ecosystem of Gala and Townstar, it's by having those NFTs. Like when he says 13 town right now is about 70 cents, right? So that means if you're making 13 town a day, you're making somewhere in the neighborhood of 273 equivalent US dollars a month
Mhm.
on a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty
not a
cool.
bad ROI, you know,
It's not.
if you look at it. I mean, you're still ROI within a year. And so here's the thing about Gala Games, once again, similar to Axie Infinity in some ways, but I think a lot worse as far as the amount of information they give to the community as far as utility goes, right? And so people who have been early to Gala have no complaints. And people who have invested in Gala recently in the past couple of months have no complaints. However, I can't recommend investing in Gala because I don't know where they're going. And that's always the issue with them, is that you never know where they're going. And so, you know, I mean, Gala Games has been a big boon to the metaverse, and I think they're going to be a major player into the future. You know, don't get me wrong. I think betting against Gala is a stupid move, but it's hard to say how much you can bet on Gala at the same time. What do you guys think?
Well, just don't need any support. I literally have support tickets that have gone unanswered going on 5 weeks now.
Wow. Well, I know they're doing the phase 2 of the node launch here starting in a couple of days. And I think that if you're a node holder, I think all of us, or most of us are, and I think all of us have done this already, but you need to update your node software to the latest version to be able to take part in the being rewarded for your additional uptime. So in
At
the past,
midnight. If you don't have it updated by midnight tonight, then they say that you won't be getting rewards for your server.
Yeah. So that was actually the next show note, Banjo. So let's go into that a little deeper, right? Okay. So I had one Gala running on a PI VPS server, and I had one running off of my laptop, right? And now I just moved the other node over to AWS. I'm probably going to move them both over to AWS or something else. I mean, what companies are you guys using to run your virtual private servers, and what kind of fees are you guys paying to these virtual private servers, and what do you think about the service? You know, let's dig in a little deeper, you know, for the community here before we move on.
So for me as a Mac user, the process is pretty easy to install the newest server. Before, I only had the $5 version of Vulture, which is who I use. Vulture.
Yeah, I had $5 VPS before too. Yeah.
The instance that I have now is $20, and so I had them both running just to see if it actually saw both, and then I shut the $5 one down. I haven't deleted the instance yet, but I'm going to do that. There was one other key ingredient that did pop up that I saw in the Gala chat for nodes, and that is that. And I don't know if this is the case with Vulture, but they suggested that most VPSs, when they create an instance, they create a duplicate of the machine ID. And so there's a quick little process that you have to run through. On Mac, I use Terminal. On Windows, you're going to use Putty. But to go in there and actually change the machine ID to something unique rather than have it be a duplicate machine ID of potentially some others, which again might cause issues for your server being recognized. But $20 a month is what I pay now for the upgraded resources for the number of CPUs and RAM and space and everything needed.
Yeah, I'm using Vulture as well, $20 plan. The question I had in Gala Discord, and I didn't get a response. You don't always. Sometimes you get great people in there who are willing to help, and sometimes everyone's just looking for help. But can you change the machine ID after an install, or do you have to, install the OS? Do the machine ID and then install the node software?
I think it can be done after, because that's how I did it, and I didn't get any errors during the process. My server is still live.
Great. That's good to know. That's the one thing I have to do. I'm going to find out tomorrow if I get my rewards, or in 2 days if I get my rewards. And if I don't, then I'll go in and change it.
Well, that also brings a question of like, what will happen? Like, is in a situation like this, anytime you have an upgrade that involves any type of effort, even if it's simple, are we going to see 25% of servers fall offline tomorrow, or that are eligible for rewards? What will happen? Yeah, I'm curious to see what the number changes will be.
Could be. I'm
kind of lucky that I have more than one node, right? Because I get to kind of like test out. So I was running, like I said, one on my laptop, one on that PI VPS, right? And then now I just got one on AWS. and thinking about moving the other ones over. So AWS is charging about $20 as well, but PI VPS moved to like $37. So it's like $40 basically to run what you have to run in order to run a Gala node now. So obviously that's gonna go away, and I'm probably gonna move both over to AWS, or I might move over to Vultr. There's several people in the guild that are using Vultr, so that might be better, but I'm gonna have to test that out here.
And with Vultr, they have a number of different cities, and I think that goes, I think there's a concern from Gala that everyone using a VPS, there's going to be some centralization of the IP and of the network, but it doesn't consider the redundancy of a VPS, the uptime. I just think, fire and forget for VPSs. I haven't had to do anything with mine since I turned it on initially.
Yeah, same.
I think a certain amount of so here's the thing with decentralization, right? It's not necessarily about, like, yes, if all of the node owners use the same company because it's cheaper or it's easier or whatever, that's going to be a problem. But like we're just talking about right now, a couple of you guys are using one and I'm using a different one. I'm using two different ones, and you guys are using, the same one. So I think that's enough decentralization. If enough people in the community go on their own and find their own better prices and stuff like that, I think that'll be better. Shout out to Mega Raid Boss. Initially, I thought it was good to run nodes on a VPS, but recently I saw an announcement from Gala Games saying they don't recommend using a VPS to help keep things decentralized. Was a throw off for me. That's what Banjo's talking about.
Here's the thing with that. It's not bad for you. It's bad for Gala. For the decentralization of the system. Another consideration here is that, for example, Vultr is something that both Banjo and I use. However, I'm using an instance based here in Amsterdam. Right. So it's actually a different part of the world, so even though it's the same system, and they do have about a dozen or so instances that you can choose from. 20 cities they offer. And then I'm not sure. A lot of other people use Contabo or Contarbo. I'm not sure which one it is, but I don't think they give the same level of choices from a city perspective.
Well, and that's something that was going on with one of the node votes was whether or not node owners should get more benefit from being like in an area where there's not a whole lot of other node owners at. So like my AWS server is actually out of Mumbai, India right now, and I typically look for situations like that where I can get it over like into a Bali or something like that. I'll do that as opposed to picking Chicago or something, Go ahead, Banjo.
What's the monthly charge on AWS?
Like I said, it's $20. It's the same as you guys are doing on Vultr. Yeah. So I think me being me, I'll probably have it depends on what the pricing is going to be on my second one, but I'll probably end up doing an AWS one and a Vultr one just to test out both and have a little bit of decentralization in my own node network. I mean, that's kind of the way I think about things.
Well, I just don't think any successful blockchain is going to run off of people's, home laptops. You're going to need the redundancy and the service of a professional system, right? And no other major network is running off a home. Everyone's in AWS or other types of hosted, enterprises.
I mean, you guys, Metaverse Nomads know how I travel, and so when I move around, I end up taking my laptop with me, and that's a whole lot of stress I don't need having to deal with trying to get my server up. When I'm in a hotel, and that's the thing that So I've been planning to move both of my servers over or my nodes over to VPS for a while. So we'll see how it goes. I think that's the better route for most people. I think that specifically, if you're a node owner out there in the Gala Games ecosystem and you care, I think it's important to think about decentralization and think, okay, everybody's using this particular VPS service. I should probably be using something different. And everybody's posting they're saying, oh, they're putting their stuff out of this cities or that cities. Let me try to find a city that's more off the path. And that hopefully, if that node vote goes through the way I want, you'll actually get rewarded for that, for being in a place that's less populated with other node owners.
But here's a consideration with that, though. It's like if you've got something like you mentioned, Bali, how many players are going to be needing to utilize the resources of that Bali server? So ideally, you want resources in the places where there's the most congestion for use so that the resources can meet those demands and needs for that area.
Well, I think that was the reason for the no proposal, right? Was they're going to give you a bonus for being in a more out of reach area, because so they were proposing the idea in a way that said, hey, we are a fan of decentralization.
Mhm.
What we've seen from Gala is not that they're trying to give away the keys to the kingdom, but at the same time, hopefully they at least run the node infrastructure in that kind of a way, because what we're seeing from, like we just mentioned with Korea, this is not going to go away. This is the first shot across the bow. People don't realize this isn't like a one-off. There's going to be governments that are going to act a fool here in the near future. In 2022, you're going to see this several times throughout the year. I'm saying it now. Several times throughout the year, you're going to see legislation. You're going to see political talks, speeches, whatever, where people are going to throw NFTs under the bus and say that these play-to-earn economies are the reason their economies are failing, and you're going to see this happen. And so the games that decentralize the quickest are going to be the safest. Axie Infinity moving to their own blockchain, moving to their own DEX was a smart move, because you can't, and then they're based in Vietnam, right? I mean, that's the kind of moves that these gaming companies need to be making, and a lot of them aren't making it. Gala's not making those kind of moves. Star Atlas is kind of leaning more in that direction. Shout out to Michael Wagner. He's a much smarter guy. He's a finance guy. I think he gets a lot of things. So hopefully they start kind of protecting themselves, because these shots are going to keep getting fired until you have concrete legislation on the ground.
So here's an interesting thing with regard to the servers. I was looking at the stats between the first server that I installed was sitting there at the $5 a month, running for since March, April, somewhere around there. It was using about 10 megabytes a day, so it really wasn't doing anything. But I look now at the stats for the new server that I just installed a few days ago, and it's almost at a gig a day. So this server now is actually being utilized for something.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're supposed to be doing in 2022. That was the email we all got. That was the post we all got, and announcements and all that, is that they're actually going to start putting some weight on us and actually start letting us start to carry the load. So, I mean, to be fair, Gala hasn't said a lot, but of what they've said, and this is why I make all my investment decisions. If you do 50% of what you're saying, am I going to win? That's how I look at things. Okay, if you're telling me all this, okay, yeah, Google Gaga, whatever. But if you do half of that, am I still going to win? Well, Gala Games has done, I'd say, probably a good 70% of what they said they were going to do. They've changed a lot of things, they've adjusted, and they just fell short on a lot. But at the same time, when it comes to the meat and potatoes, they've actually delivered quite a bit. You got to give them that.
It's interesting is there's prior to us all kind of abandoning their Discord because we just kept getting in routes with their dev team. There's other groups coming in and doing the same stuff right now, and there's a really cool conversation going on right now about Gala game nodes and the Townstar nodes, and how is that impacting the earnings of the founders. And someone made a pretty compelling case in there that Gala might be going a different direction than what the original founders nodes, intent was. And that maybe we're making too much money on our founders nodes, which I think we're making reasonable money. I don't think we're making FU money by any stretch.
No.
So I love to see that there's other people stepping up and calling out some of the things that, we've called out in the past. I do hope they take this 2022 to get us ready into Gala chain. And I do hope that they keep the founders nodes who've invested a shit ton of money. I mean, those things are upwards of like $70,000 or $80,000 now.
Yeah, I think it's over 80 last I checked a few days ago, because I was
you shared 86, Jesse.
Yeah. And so because of that, do we think that the intention behind that was to price it out of price it in such a way that it would discourage people from wanting to purchase, so that way they kind of stabilize sales?
I mean, Bitbender actually went, I don't know what social media platform he was on, via if it was Twitter or Discord or whatever, but he actually said, he actually typed out that they were trying to slow it down. And that is not a thing that I see as a positive right? That's something that I see as a negative because now I'm worried. Like, why are you trying to slow it down? Because there's certain things that are supposed to happen when all
Like
the
it
nodes are
becoming-
sold.
Yeah, like it becoming an NFT. So
And then
Yes, sir.
mass selling of
Yes.
the stabilization of the blockchain.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Like now, I mean, at that point, when all the nodes are sold, if they become NFTs, now you actually have decentralization because
Yeah.
node owners can sell their nodes now on the public market. And that's going to be an interesting thing. And I don't even know if the tech is there for that. Like, how do you sell an NFT and give node rights to a computer? You know,
I think
that's the thing that I don't even know if that text is there. You know, so
I think that what you would have to do is if the NFT exists in your wallet, then that's the only way it's going to receive the disbursement.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And so if you sell that NFT, now it's up to that other person to whatever wallet they place it in.
Independent of where the server's being held or
Yes.
whether yeah, exactly. I get what you're saying. That's smart. Yeah, that's the only way that you could probably do it. You're right.
I think what we already have acknowledged that Gala, you know, their marketing, they do a good job at marketing. We don't necessarily like some
They're
of the
amazing.
leadership, but they are bringing on some content. You know, that Stand Together or Die Alone, that thing looks like it has legs. No pun intended. You know, that 3D spider game, and then the other games and some of the other developers they're bringing on. I mean,
they
it seems
picked up
like
the
they're making
Walking
the right
Dead.
relationships.
They picked up the Walking Dead franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And then shout out to On-Chain Gaming, my guy Jake Broski, right? He just did a video the other day I was watching, and he's talking about that sorry, what was that game? He's talking about that legacy game, right? And it's another sim kind of similar to Townstar. And I'm like, okay, another sim similar to Townstar. That's stupid. Same network. No way I'm playing that. And then he starts talking about how oh no, he was talking about the shooting game, actually. He was talking about
The first person
I think
shooter.
it's Last Expedition. It's the first.
Yeah,
person
it's from
shooter.
Halo
Is that
or
it?
Call of Duty. Some
Yeah. Whatever
small-
game that was, it's on the Gala Games Network. I think it's Last Expedition, but it's made by, like Ray just said, from the guys that made Halo and Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're making a first-person shooter, blockchain-based NFT type of gaming, play to earn, hopefully, situation. And so Gala is doing all the things they said they were going to do. All the things they said when I first bought my node, they're doing. It's just the unclear roadmap that makes me nervous and say I can't recommend you buy a node for $86,000 today. You know, I can't recommend you do that. I can't recommend you spend, what is it, like 10 grand for a box right now. I can't recommend you do that.
No, I could
you know,
do that.
I bought the Steph Curry's because it was a Steph Curry's. It's on Decentraland, it's on Sandbox, it's on, you know, it's not just Gala. And then at the same time, I went back and bought the courts because they dropped down to where I could get them easy, you know. But I can't recommend you drop a lot of money on Gala Games when they're not giving you any kind of clear understanding of where your money's going to go.
So my question is like, well, what is it about the tokenomics that keeps the price propped up? We know on Gala that the big jump happened when we saw it go to some of the major exchanges. So that made sense. It became a lot more liquid. And so that makes sense there. But what about Town, the Town token? What is it that's going to keep that? Right now it's about 70 cents. It's dropped a little bit lower. It's there now. When you have a quadrillion in total supply, what is going to keep that propped up? And I know you were just, and this is, my question is based on the fact that Bonafide, you were just talking about Gala delivering on these things. They're delivering by expanding the network, which looks really, really impressive. But the actual play to earn part yet is still to be seen. I see a lot of NFTs being sold, which is keeping flow within the ecosystem as a whole. But on all of these games, how is the play to earn really going to shape up? That's still an unknown for me.
Well, I think we talked about this last week, Jess, but once again, I agree with everything you just said. Everything you just said is very important because I don't trust Gala in the long term because of all the things you just mentioned. As far as it seems like a Ponzi, the way they have to keep selling these NFTs. they're pushing them. It's not like, oh, we're just going to drop another couple of NFTs because we want to. No, we're forcing these NFTs down your throat. If you don't buy these NFTs, you're missing out. FOMO, 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 FOMO. Fear of missing out all day at Gala. However, what Punjab said here is what he said last week as well. It's Gala power, right? Power. So you have to hold a certain amount of Gala. You have to hold a certain amount of town coin. There's an algorithm where you can hold either Gala or town, but you have to hold a certain amount, which kind of works out mathematically, regardless of the price of the individual tokens. But you have to hold a certain amount in order to have a certain amount of Gala power. And so that Gala power is what enables you to earn in Town Star. So in Town Star, if you have 0 Gala power, you don't earn anything. Mm-hmm. And then if you have 1 Gala power, which basically is about, I'm constantly, like I said, I'm constantly moving Gala revenue around. So I just got back up to 1 Gala power in the past week. That's about $1,000 USD. Okay, to have 1 Gala power. And then you move up to 2 and 3 and 4, and that allows you to have more and more NFTs. So these guys that are actually making, say, $1,000 a day playing Town Star actually have quite a bit of money locked up. Not locked up, because you can sell it any time.
But it's just unrealized earnings.
They're basically staking their Gala coin and their town coin in the game in order to earn that kind of money. And so you have this constant friction of, okay, do I want to sell? Do I want to take some profits today, or do I want to continue? Do I want to increase my earnings today in Gala? And I think that ecosystem has legs. To be honest, I don't think it's a bad. No, I think it's a good model. I think it's a good model. And so I think the question going into the future is going to be, how many people are going to be, because, me being, myself, I'm more into decentralization. I'm not going to have all my eggs in Gala, right? So I'm constantly moving funds out of Gala into Star Atlas and Axie and any of the games that I talk about. That's where I'm moving funds all the time. To kind of diversify myself in the metaverse, because I don't want to be beholden to Gala. If Gala goes and does something really stupid one day and they just burn up, that's not where my whole situation is going to be. I'm going to be like, okay, well, I'm still playing Axie. I'm still got my Star Atlas fleet, whatever.
And what you're saying right now is important. And I think we actually had some other themes that we were going to talk about on this show, and we'll get to them in the future. But I think this is an important aspect of play to earn gaming. It's really easy for us to get caught up in an ecosystem because we love the project, the company, or otherwise, when the truth is, at the end of the day, if you are really trying to become a full-time play to earn person, again, not financial advice, but diversification is key, because having all your eggs in one bag, you just don't know what is going to happen to that project. And last thing you want to be position you want to be in is where you just totally crash and burn because of one project.
That's a good point, Jesse.
If you're not diversified, can you even call yourself an investor? Go ahead, Manja.
Well, I think if you think about the average gamer, they're not a group that jumps from 3 to 4 to 5 games at one time. Usually they're playing one hardcore. So that's kind of a pivot that gamers are really going to have to make to be able to, if they want to do it full time as a job. And I think everyone has that aspiration. You're not going to be able to just sit and be the best Call of Duty player. You're going to have to jump around and do some other stuff.
What I think it's interesting that for Gala Games specifically, every new project or NFT that they come out with is way too marked up to the point compared to the one that was released before for whatever project it was. So I'm just glad for Gala Games specifically that I got in at the ground level with my node and with any NFTs I bought at the time, because I would never recommend anyone coming in now to buy anything from Gala, because you're going to really put in work to and then you're going to have money left in there, like we were talking about Gala Power, to see a return. There's just too many eggs or hands in the Gala Games ecosystem that you would have to put in to then get a return and then feel confident, and alongside them not being as transparent. So I don't know how deep any one person is going to go within any particular project, including Gala Games, but we have collectively, and even before we even got together as a group. And that's what I do with other projects as well. I go the length before putting in money, because you're so early still, even if it's up 0.1 Ethereum, if it's SolarBots, for example, which is a shout out, great project, a subsidiary of Axie Infinity, which is going to be blowing people's minds soon enough. And it's a long-term project. But hey, I'm not telling anyone to go to Gala. If they want to go because of the hype and the fear of missing out, as they're the first ones with their marketing campaigns that are ahead of almost any other project that we know about, they're going to be the first project that they see. And they're going to get that initial wave of new money coming in. And that's why it's so successful, for why these NFTs are being sold, and there's so much appreciation in the prices of these NFTs. But you look at any other projects that we're talking about, they got the papers, the tokenomics, the white paper. You're earning on the NFTs that you've already purchased at a cheaper price way before. And it's just day and night to me. And I'm thankful for all the appreciation of all the assets that I got from them. But I'm just taking a back seat, and I'm not even going into Townstar, because my time, I guess, is the amount of money that you could make, if we're just talking about money now and making money off of what we're buying, or time invested, is better suited in other projects than what I can make in town. As Jesse mentioned, long term for town, it's not a good thing, because there's like quadrillionth of town, and over time it's just going to keep going down, unless there's, again, something the project does, which is Gala Games, that incentivizes people to hold it for longer, because no one's going to hold that token, right? And for good reason.
But they are incentivizing holding. They're just not doing it through Townstar. They're doing it through Gala, right? Through your Gala.
Well, your Gala power, I think, is going to affect all the games in the ecosystem, because that's how they have it set up. If you go to the Gala Games website and you're on the games tab, you see your Gala power up there. Yeah, and it's so the Townstar is the first game that's play to earn. So I figure they're probably going to use Gala power on all their games, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to incentivize you to hold Gala. They're going to incentivize you to hold that particular game token as well, and that's going to end up paying back. The tokenomics are not bad with Gala. The problem is they could have told us this months ago.
Right, it's very mediocre. It's like
well, they're not telling us what they're doing, but what they've done is smart, and that's there's a distinction there between investment and reality, right? It's like, okay, you can gamble on something and win, and I've gambled on Gala and won, but I'm not going to suggest Gala because there's no information about the future. But what you've seen so far is intelligently built, and it's a weird place to be.
Yeah, all projects are going to try and build that into some degree, including Star Atlas and all the rest, to give you some incentive for hanging on to what you've been rewarded rather than selling it. The one thing that's already been mentioned that is alarming to me is the nature in which they have scaled the prices of things. Like we've already talked about, going way back to an original Homestead was $50 way back in the day. We just saw the Vox jump 10x just between one launch to the next. And all of this truly goes back to Eric Schiermeyer that we've seen on State back in the past, that if it was up to him, he would charge 10 times more for things. And I think we're seeing that play out now.
That was on a live video where he said that, Jesse, and that was that right there is what that was when I stopped buying Gala. Anything. That was when I stopped buying stuff.
And so what that does is it speaks volumes to they are going to simply try and discover what the market will bear. And if they can sell something for 10 times more than even what it's going for now, that's what they will do. And so my question to them is, why is that your approach if you truly are about the gaming experience? Why must you try and squeeze for every single NFT that you sell? It just doesn't feel right.
So the biggest thing for me, I'm sorry, the biggest thing for me is that Bitbender is the one that sold me on Gala. And he sold me on Gala because he was on interviews and he was on YouTube and he was saying, hey, we want to be, there for the third world countries. We want to be able to provide income for people around the world. We're trying to decentralize gaming and allow play to earn for poor people around the planet and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I want to support it. I'm going to buy a node. I'm going to buy assets in Miranda's and let people rent them out that, don't necessarily have the money to buy the assets, but they have the money to play the game, or they want to play the game. That's going away very quickly with Eric Schumeyer, right? Shooting the price of all these NFTs up to the point where nobody's ever going to be able to afford these things if they're not crypto natives. Those of us who've been in crypto a long time can afford to drop 10 grand on an NFT, but that's not, and that's like the average number now for Gala NFTs. You're talking, a couple of thousand to 10,000 for the low end. You're talking $1 million on some of these things.
Yeah, look at the recent the ships and the docks. Your top ship and top dock are over $1 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It feels unnecessary. Like if you're investing, and I know Gala hates that hates that word. But at the end of the day, if you're going to put $1 million
for the
into
kids.
something, yeah, I'm trying to keep but no one's going to spend $1 million and expect a return. Whereas Star Atlas, if you spent $1 million, there's a reasonable expectation you're going to see that in a year.
I respect Michael Wagner so much more because he said, "Hey, yeah, there's going to be $1 million ships," and yet, as long as they've been working on that project, and as much work as they've put in, which is equal, I would say even more than equal to the amount of work that you've seen in Miranda's, right? Guess what? They haven't sold $1 million NFT yet.
Right.
So I'd like to just share that there's a lack of substance with Gala Games and what they say and then what there actually is. So it's almost like the character integrity of the team is what I particularly look at. And over the course of time, which is the only X factor here where you could base your decision financially, is on the time and what's actually said or shared with the community. And if there's a lack of for so long, then what is it going to take for that to start happening in a way that resembles successful projects that have been here before Gala Games, right? Whether they had the money then or now they do, like Axie Infinity from seed raise funds. Like, where's the shift that we're going to see as a community, whether we demand it or from what the team actually recognize and learns from other projects to implement. So now there's more of a cohesive, community, not just a marketed community image that's kind of blanketing what the frustrations are in the actual community, which is you can't even use a shit or a clown emoji. There's a lot of dictatorial things going on. You can't use the word investment, right? What do you think people are expecting when they're coming in with $1 million to just buy and hold something for? If you even have $1 million, you did something right. You did something right. So you have some type of financial literacy, and you're going to want to see a return. Unless it was inheritance, and you're just a numbskull, or you won the lottery and you don't know what to do with it, and you blow it all on an NFT that's like Gala's. But then it might even go up in value. But my rant here is that on a macro level, Gala is doing what we all are doing on a micro level as individual investors, or a small DAO would, is wanting a return or trying to either promote projects that they're invested in to have more people come in so their profits can increase, right? If they were to sell. So Gala Games, it's going to work. Like, that's why I always said, I don't doubt that Gala Games won't be around. They're going to sign contracts. They're going to have people from Legacy World come in and just like Snoop Dogg and all these things are great. But it's just like, what got you there and what's the real focus? It's always, yeah.
There's a couple of considerations, though. First of all, I don't think every project that they're on is going to be a winner, and everyone's assuming that. Right. And so every one of the projects they come to the table with now have NFTs that sell up into the high six figures, and even way up there. And so here's a consideration. And I created a video about this last year about free to play. About is free to play going to be worth playing in Miranda's? And I think this is going to apply to all the games out there. If you have the bulk of people that have a vested interest in the game, or the people that have spent this kind of money, what kind of game do you have if those are the people that are just playing with themselves? Because if you have such a high point of entry that the free-to-play person is going to come along and like, this is just frustrating. I don't really see the value in this because I didn't have $1 million to spend. And so I have this rinky-dink freaking free NFT that allows me just to get in the game. I'm just getting my ass handed to me. It's not fun for me. And so unless they can figure out a way to make free-to-play or a lower cost of entry, make it work within these different games, it's just going to be the big NFT holders playing amongst themselves, and that's not going to really be much of a game.
Yeah,
I think Ray, you had a good point when you were saying, talking about how they took out the poop and the clown and the
and they
other
also
emojis.
took
We
out.
talked about this last
Sorry to
week.
interrupt you. They also took out the layouts for all the deeds. And those images that you can see how many plots are going to be there or not. So
Right.
you can't even now, coming in as a new investor, even have an inkling of what the deeds and the layout of the blueprints of where you're going to put the buildings associated with any deed. What are you're even more lost. There's even less now transparency on land deeds.
No, they're showing classic rug pull signals, right?
But they're not though. They're going to keep.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that multi-level marketing companies have been around for a long time, and there's that they need that constant influx. It's the same kind of design, and that's what Gala's kind of doing, is that they're bringing in new people.
Right.
And Banjo, you said it great earlier, and I want to bring that back up. Shout out to those of you in the node owners and the Gala Go discords, node owner Gala node owners discord, as well as the Gala Gold discord, because I'm seeing the fight, and that's the same fight that we of the six of us consoles, we all came together because we were all doing that same fight, and Fancy kind of cherry picked us out of the mix and brought us together. We created our own Discord, and they were actually in our Discord talking to our members at a certain point before we changed Discords, because we were the only place where people could talk about Gala games in a free forum without getting banned, without getting silenced, without getting shut down, without getting just drowned out by fanboy texts and people making it rain in the Discord and all those little games they used to play. And so, going forward, now you're seeing it. We talked about it last week where, Jesse Hines got ripped on Twitter, because he went on Twitter with the same kind of personality he has on Discord, and that's not going to work in a platform that you don't control. It's only going to work in platforms you control, and that's you have your own Discord. That's it, and you have the game. And so hopefully they move past that. But like the rest of you, I wouldn't bet the house on it.
Here's another Gala thing that's come up that we haven't really talked about yet is the fact that we see all of these, and I mentioned this a long time ago too. I said there's 1,625 land deeds. So how are they going to work around it? Because they're going to sell some C deeds. And if you look at these things, they're deeds. They are deeds. There's going to be building plots. They haven't shared any of that stuff yet, but I have no doubt that those are actual deeds, and you skirt around that issue by calling it something else. But what does that do for all of the people that actually bought deeds thinking that this was the only thing that was going to be called a deed and the only place that you could place a building? But yet here they are coming up with a C deed.
Right. So I would like to emphasize that these conversations, we've been talking about Gala for a while now. We cover the updates, we cover what's going on, but personally I feel like we're beating a dead horse. But it's important for the community. I despise spending more than just the updates of what's happening or going to happen in the future with Gala than talking as we have as in this length about Gala. Because we do talk and we hash the same experiences, and it's almost like that's insanity on a level of, if not education for the people watching. But I don't ever think about Gala. It's on the bottom of my list unless, I was to get into Townstar to earn off of what I do have, keeping whatever the Gala power number is there, and as we all know. But this is more so a conversation always referencing back to Gala because they're the star child of what almost not to do when you're looking at your other projects, or what to look for when you're looking. So we're not throwing shade, and we don't. Yeah, some people might have emotional issues because they're invested and they're also a gamer. So you have to, the tug of war between a gamer and investor, and what's at stake, and what you can afford to lose. But ultimately, I've been ready to move on, or just to see what's gonna happen. And that's more of a speculative investment. It's more of the most riskier ones of the blue chips, if you want to call it, because they're not just going to disappear. Like Jess said, there's going to be projects that will be successful within their Steam-like ecosystem, but also just as the Ronin chain for Axie will be a Steam-like ecosystem, and then we'll have other projects the networks all these projects are on are Steam-like ecosystems. The developers in these projects decide where they want to build on what network. So if Gala Games is putting the cart before the horse, not knowing anything about blockchain and developing in a more efficient way, they're creating something from scratch. It's revolutionary, right? That they're calling it to keep and corner the market and to be monopolies in their own right. And with that is a lot of bumps that they're not able to get over because of the lack of education or because it's so nascent of a thing that they're trying to do to keep more money within themselves. And to their respect, right? That's what you got to do. You want more money, but it's clear as day to me. And although we all want more money, it's just like, what are they willing to sacrifice or to hurt or to throw to the wayside, which could be a community, a large percentage of the community, for big bucks or a new contract with another company, or not able to follow up with what they were saying. I know Bonafide, you said they're 75%, but that's not cutting it. 75% doing something new, sure, I could give you the benefit of the doubt. But if you're in the space and you're looking at projects, they got their shit together before they sell anything, right? You're not just selling something and then there's a buildup of anticipation. And then once the white paper is out for any other project, for most other projects you look at, I don't care if it's a blue chip or the next rug pull. Even the rug pull projects give you white papers, and they give you sound economics that make you believe they're going to be around and sell you NFTs. So it's just like the blue chip status is like organic or all natural, actually all natural on any product in the store, unless it's verified USDC, organic. So it's kind of like the FDA. Well, who's the regulator here to say it's a farce and they're just a marketing scheme that's making bank and will produce something, but you won't make anything on what you have except for Townstar, right? That's the carrot at the end of the stick. It's Townstar, Gala Power. There's nothing else there. The substance is not there, and people coming into the space. I'm not, it's not like the British are coming, but there's a lot of people who lose money on rug pulled projects more so than people who aren't making money on NFT that they're holding with Gala. So, there's way more people losing money. We're not red flagging any of those because they disappear. The people move, they shut down their accounts, and they just disappear with all the money. But Gala is sticking around for the long haul, and they want to be viewed.
They keep sucking people in. Yeah, that's like the biggest.
It's a leech. It's like a
leech. They have a chance of being the biggest Ponzi of all time. It keeps
growing and growing, and the leech will destroy its host, which is the new community, or the community of old that it had, to buy up the initial cheap NFTs, to then build up and just get rid of to the next level of price for the next NFTs, and then they get rid of them. And this is how just I perceive them from what I have heard and listened to from my own research. I'm not trying to convince anyone. This isn't financial advice, but we're not naive. I hope not, right? So that's why the only reason we talk about this is for a lesson to be learned for the new people coming in, and for the potential of the project going down the road.
I think you made a good segue to moving on to Illuvium, Ray. And
I got one more thing about it.
I got one more thing to say too.
so before you guys start, before you guys start, let me get my everybody's here. Hold on.
Get in line.
It's great because this is the thing. This is mind blowing to me right now. What just happened? Because all of us have made a lot of money with Gala. All of us have put a lot of money into Gala, and all of us are very passionate about Gala being a good thing in the future. And at the same time, all of us are passionate about whipping Gala because they're not doing it. So go ahead, Jesse. Sorry.
And that's exactly what I have to say, is that my concern and what I want, and the reason that this is an important ongoing conversation, is because they are establishing themselves as a major player and an influencer in the space as a whole. And so it's important for all of us, especially if we're looking for a decentralized metaverse and people that are doing it the right way and that actually have the best interest in all people's and all of the parties that are involved, including people that are in other projects. Because for a lot of people coming into this space, Gala and what they're doing is going to be their first exposure to it. And that could turn some people away. So I feel like it's important to have it as a part of ongoing dialogue, as to whether they're doing things right or whether they're doing things wrong or whether they're doing things that they should reconsider doing, and the level of transparency that I believe a project should have. So all of these things come together, and I feel it's an important conversation because of what the metaverse as a whole is shaping into, and that's what I'm most interested in.
And I'll tag on to that, Jesse. I think that's well said. I think the one thing that we don't have in this space yet is competition. So Gala has the luxury of being able to act in any manner they want because they're not up against the competition, right? So once we start to see more development groups or companies that are looking at developing multiple games that give Gala some competition, they're going to start having to step up in a different way. Whether they will or not is remains to be seen. But I think also what you're seeing is something that started grassroots and is still acting and showing up in a grassroots manner. They're not acting corporate, if you will, right? You don't see the same response from them that you might from EA or Unix or some of these other companies. They're starting to bring those people in, which is fantastic, but they're not at the leadership positions. They're more in the developer position. And they've gotten rid of some of the people who I think could have made serious good changes for them. So we've all made our money back on Gala, as far as I'm aware. I know I have. I'm well past my initial investment with them. And my philosophy is this: I don't like the leadership. I hope they make good games and I hope they continue to make me good money, but I'm not going to sit here and put them on a pedestal of greatness or put them in a pit of shit. I'm just watching them. They're just Gala. That's what they are.
That's our brand. Yeah, we did. We did.
If we got in
right,
today, what level of confidence do we have in zero?
Well, let's be honest. But let's be honest, though, Jess. I mean, if you invested in Gala 60 days ago, you made money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like as far as Gala Games goes, I don't know anybody who's been in there 60 days who's lost money. I don't. I mean, it's not. You know, they've done well with their marketing side. Unless you just completely just bought, you know, a skin or something like that off of OpenSea. If you bought something from their store and sold it on OpenSea, I'm pretty sure you made money, you know, and that's kind of the thing. So I mean, but moving past that, because you know, you made a good point, Banjo, as far as you know, metaverse wide, you know, there's going to be a lot of competition here in the future. Okay. And Gala is lapping in luxury right now because they don't have a serious competitor in their space. Star Atlas is a game that's an individual game. There's a lot of individual games out there that are, I think, are promising, that I'm putting money into, that I think are going to do well. But Gala came at this steam of blockchain gaming before anybody else. And so you have other players out there that are coming in. There were some announced on Twitter this past week, I think, like Ultra and stuff like that are coming in. You have the Axie Infinity ecosystem, which is, I think, like I've said before, a major competitor to Gala. If they actually get their act together and start buying at some of these games, I think they're going to do very well because they have the whole blockchain and everything ready for these people, which Gala doesn't even have. They don't even have their DEX and their blockchain live yet, and Axie Infinity does. So there's a lot of places where you're going to be able to see Axie, or I'm sorry, not Axie. You're going to be able to see Gala fall off if they're not careful, and if they're not quick enough. But you know, today that hasn't happened yet, and that means, you know, as an investor, if you see a lot of green, you go the other way, right? There's a lot of green in Gala. They've been winning for a long time. so I can't tell anybody to buy into that. But, you know, at the same time, I'm sitting here having made a lot of money. So are we ready to move on, or you got some, Ultra?
Yeah, let's move on to Luvium. How about we? So it got hacked this week, actually. Like, really convincing bot.
What do we got?
It posted a message in the Discord to a URL that looked authentic, and it was saying, like, we're printing 100 like NFTs, like 500, And yeah, I'm not sure how long it was up for, but yeah, it's like a lot of Discords been getting hit by these type of attacks.
Mm-hmm. It's been a common one lately. I'm surprised they got caught in it because it's been going on for about a month or maybe even close to 60 days now, right? With whole Discords getting hacked.
Yeah, happened to Sin City as well, just after we left that. Yeah.
It blows my mind that there is that high a level of bad actors out there that just really want to do this stuff constantly.
I mean, the honeypot is huge, though, Jess, if you think about it. I mean, if you're a smart hacker, where are you going to be? I mean, back in the day, you were dealing with banks and things like that, and you wouldn't hear about it when they got hacked. Now, where's the money at? The money's in the blockchain. It's in crypto. It's in the metaverse. And if you can mess around and hack a Discord and get 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people to jump on your new NFT drop for the project they love and drop fucking, $10, $100 into it right quick.
Yeah.
What did you just make? And that's the kind of thing that these guys, I mean, if you're a good hacker, this is a honeypot. And so you're seeing this. Hopefully, if you guys are on Discord, you guys have turned off your DMs to where only friends of yours can DM you, because if you're in a lot of Discord channels, you're going to get a lot of spam messages. I've had spam messages from Star Atlas, and I had to think to myself, why would Star Atlas DM me? I'm nobody.
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized this is a hack, and you got to remember this stuff. You can't type things into Google. I think we're going to do a show on this in the future where we talk about security a lot more. But this is a messy space right now. It's the wild, wild west. You got to protect yourselves. And this happened to Illuvium.
Yeah, I'm seeing people who I felt were pretty crypto savvy who've been scammed by some of this stuff. So the people who do this are pretty convincing, and there's always that desire to hit the jackpot. And I think that, gets some people emotionally swirled up to be more responsive to this type of scam.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather said it really good. He said, he told me when I was a kid, he said, you can't con an honest man. And he was very serious about it because I was thinking I was smart or whatever, and going to make a bunch of money on something. He was like, you can't con an honest man. And that's very important. Always think about that. You can't be greedy. Don't be greedy. And don't think you're going to be smarter than everybody else out there. You're going to be first to the party, because you're not. Just
what they're preying on, though.
Normal.
They're preying on the fact that the industry is starting to move in this direction of whitelist and first to market and first to be able to respond and being on the early notification list. And so because you've got so many people that are primed and just sitting there waiting to be able to get some of that first release news, and then all of a sudden you've got things like that happen straight out of a Discord, not even to mention the stuff that comes to DMs, which is, I mean, I'd left mine on accident because I was trying to get a message from someone for like a day and I was traveling.
We all do it every now and then. Yeah.
And so because people are, that's how the industry is kind of primed right now. And so that's kind of what they're preying on and taking advantage of, is that first mover advantage.
Yep.
It's so early. Good morning.
Good morning.
What else we got?
So they started the year with this, just a reminder of their upcoming Illuvium Zero land sale. And that's quite exciting. We looked at a video in the past and also this as well.
Is there a tentative floor price for these?
I think it's 0.5 for tier 1, tier 0. I can't remember it, but it's 0.5 is the floor beginning, for the lowest. Yeah, ETH. And then the next one's 1.5, then 3.5 maybe. I don't have the numbers right here.
These projects love their land sales and the money they get from them, don't they?
Hell yeah.
Meta made it famous. you sell land in the metaverse right now, that's a cool meal, a few meal easy. Yeah,
you're right. And then also, these I would call Illuvium personally, Illuvium is the second to last to Gala Games, and not for any particular or similar reasons that we talked about Gala Games. It's because I would consider Illuvium, Gala Games, even Axie somewhat of the dinosaurs in the space who kind of trailblazed a specific model of NFT sales. the most hottest thing was land sales, and then you could do item sales. It's like, when can you not make anything sellable as an NFT? So, but sure enough, the idea itself was so, nascent, that it was just like, hell yeah, I want to buy my own land. So, all these projects who have already established what they're going to do in their white papers and how much it's going to be, they're not just going to flip it on its head and maybe take it out or do something different now, because it'll ruin the growth that they've had up until this point of releasing whatever it is to have money coming in. So, for what it's worth, some of these projects don't even need to sell anything anymore. They have enough money to build everything, right? And then to give way more back to the community for playing the game, not even needing to buy anything. Like Thane's Arena, they didn't sell any land plots. They just selling heroes, right? And that's way cheaper than you'll buy anything for any ETH project.
They haven't sold land plots yet.
Right. So, see, but there you go. It's just scalable in that way. But there's always going to be that guy or that girl or that group of people coming in, the waves of hordes of people, just like zombie apocalypse style of just money coming in. The same with investors outside Legacy to Bitcoin and everything else. So you really have to dot your I's and cross your T's when you're coming in or you've been here, and not just FOMO and salivate, to get into any particular sale. Because sure enough, a lot of these projects, if they're not going to be at first, will have to become free to play. And then you could build from the ground level up and still make money that way, right? Instead of just throwing a wad of cash, at buying all this land and then waiting, either like we are on Agala, to make a return, or earning something right out the gate if you were able to afford, and the project like Illuvium is going to be what they said they're going to be. But for now, well, you got to staking with the Illuvium token.
Yeah, I think if Illuvium brings over the Pokemon crowd, which I think is possible, it's got a lot of legs behind it. I mean, I'm not invested in Illuvium, so I have I guess, an unbiased view of it one way or another. But it is a game that I see has a lot of potential.
I mean, so here's the, you made a good point, Ray, because here's the thing, right? It's like none of these projects really, if you really think about it, have solid economies yet. They're all brand new. Everything's brand new. Everything's being built. Everything is a work in progress. Everything is basically a beta test or a hypothesis of how things could work, and they're kind of figuring it out on the fly, that they might have made a mistake here or they might have made a mistake there. And I think you see that with Gala Games. You see that with Axie Infinity with the SLP price. The one project that's doing well right now, and who knows what's going to happen in the future, but Star Atlas is doing well right now because their Atlas token is staying up. And I think there's a lot of things to consider along with that, as far as like the fact that it's actually named Atlas and things like that. But the token price is doing decent after we added a bunch of sell pressure to that token. But all of these Star Atlas doesn't have a playable game by far. It's basically just a economic play. It's a staking mechanic and a glorified test of their economic system, right? So you look at all these games that are out right now, most of them are not doing well as far as play to earn mechanics. And this is something to pay attention to in the metaverse. This is all brand new and everything's being tested. Nothing's real yet. So be careful out there with your money in 2022. Make sure you're buying and investing things that are real alongside these gaming projects, because the gaming projects have made us a lot of money, and hopefully they do as well for you. But at the same time, you got to be knowledgeable about the fact that this is all brand new. Nobody knows what's going to happen in this space. This is all brand new.
I'd like to sprinkle a cherry on top of there and just be like, if you know what you want before throwing your money at any project, then you'll know where you're going to invest your money. So like, know what you want before just thinking, oh, this is going to be the next best thing, which takes time and understanding. So just, you might have the money, but just don't act in that way because of this. Don't let projects pull on your heartstrings. Actually read the white paper right? Check out
Yeah.
the team if they're doxxed or not. Look at the community, which is the cornerstone of any successful project or family or community or tribe. Like if they mesh well together and everything is supportive, not just circle jerking, we're gonna get rich and Lambos to the moon. It needs to be a realistic, rational like type of community, right? Because everything, it takes time to grow. It's whether it's a day or a week, then you have to reassess why it's growing that fast. But at the end of the day, having a community like Rome, right, who have objective opinions amongst each other, but also an understanding of the space from our different backgrounds is just it's crucial. Like we have all these DAOs in Star Atlas. Do you know how easy it's going to be to make a DAO in less than a year's time? It's going to be like switching a flip or flipping a switch rather. And it's not going to be that, whoa, they have a DAO. Oh my God, they have a token. It's going to be the most commonplace thing to have. So everyone is jumping at the gun to get into these guilds, to get into these projects that have DAOs as if it's like the flashy, glamorized thing. It's going to be a common thing. It's like LLCs for companies. Like if you want to get incorporated,
Being early isn't necessarily being right. Being early is not necessarily being right. Go ahead.
Right. So, so that's basically what is going to be the case. And sure enough, everyone's going to come around to having a DAO for any particular project, whether game or otherwise, as these companies are going to slowly come into or at a faster pace come into the crypto space, as the government is also, because for regulation, getting the hand in the cookie jar, like it's all coming in at a pace that's pretty fast if you're just not on the outskirts, looking in, and it's gonna, just spend time, like spend more time doing researching, asking questions, joining different guilds, in and out, different projects. That's all you need to do, because time is on your side if you're here listening right now, as late as you might think it is, right? Because of the years past and all the gains that have been made, right? It's just, it doesn't matter what everyone else made. You can still do the same thing with particular projects and also new projects coming out over time. So, not financial advice.
Well, hey, we're almost at 3 hours, and I think we got a few more Illuvium things before we wrap up. Why don't we give Fancy a shot at hitting the next one?
So just one video to be exact, and it's about character customization.
Cool.
Yeah, so the HUD isn't very impressive, but being able to like switch out and then switch into the game and see the effect.
Is that going to be
cool.
an NFT, or is that
I'm not sure. Perhaps like this is
Tell me, I need to know.
well, it seems that they have different traits, right? The different masks.
Yeah. So perhaps that's one mask with loads of different settings, or that's like 4 different masks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to tell at this point. But they all are quite similar. Like, yeah.
Love the style, the colors. It's all popping, just like many other projects. But again, we'll see how the land sale goes. We'll see what the next part of the roadmap is.
I think you touched on a great point, Ray. I mean, the space is so early. There's a lot of movement going on. Shout out to LEO Trades, Alex Becker. They've said multiple times on their channels, there's going to be millionaires made in 2022 off of this space, right? At the same time, you can't fall in love with the project because you think this particular gameplay is cool, or because and then the game's not even out yet, right? You're just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing, and you become a fanboy. You can't be a fanboy in any of these projects, and that's the space that the Metaverse Nomads and Rome as a guild, that's a space we hold. So we beat each other up all the time. We bring each other projects every day. I have many guild members who hit me up on WhatsApp and DMs all the time and share projects with me, and I share projects back with them privately. I share projects with the guild. Ray shares projects. All of us, the Nomads, we all share projects with the guild on a regular basis, and we get fired on by our members. They say, hey, that's a rug pull. That's a shitty game. I shouted out Thetan Arena back before the launch of Thetan Arena. We had guys in the guild who were like, oh, that's a rug pull, that's trash, blah blah blah. And then they after the game launched, they showed me about a lot of the scams and stuff that were going on with Thetan Arena. It's still a fun game, but guess what? economically, it might not be a smart investment, and they were right, and so these are the things that happen in the Rome Guild and the Rome Discord. And you see a bit of that here on the channel. What do you guys have before we close out? Jesse?
If you want, only thing I really have to share is that I'm excited about what the new year holds, and a lot of the projects that we've been waiting on are starting to get further along in development. The stuff we just saw there with Illuvium, I think, is pretty cool. I like their development style. We're already 2 weeks now into Star Atlas having kicked off their ship staking, and we're only 30 days away from 30 days as of tomorrow for the target date for the DAO. And then thereafter, we're a couple months out from more. And so, it's exciting to start to see these projects develop. And so it's going to be a great year, and I'm looking forward to the things we share on the show.
Yes, sir. What do you got, Ray? You're muted, Ray.
If you want more of what you heard in the last 2 to 3 hours, please join Rome.io. Go Rome.io. And we have a good amount of channels there for different projects. Like Bonify was saying, we talk about other things than Star Atlas, although it's our main focus as a guild for gaming. And also we have a crypto educational channel, which there's a plethora of different how-tos and advice, I guess, not financial, but videos on tutorials and things to be privy of in the space as we grow on into the sunset of crypto NFT gaming. So I appreciate all you. Like, subscribe, and that's all. That's it, man. Support each other, because that's all it's gonna take. We ain't gonna get anywhere if we don't support each other.
What you got, Banjo?
Hey, I'm just glad to be back after December of being spotty here. Looking forward to this.
God,
next
it's good
year.
to see you back, brother. To be honest,
Yeah, appreciate it.
I've missed the fuck
Appreciate
out of
that.
you. Yeah.
And then, I think just collectively with the Metaverse Nomads, I think we've done a lot of great work this past year. Really looking forward to see what we do in the next coming year. It's for people who don't do stuff like a podcast. Everyone has their own day jobs, and then they also come and invest their time here because of the love for the games that we have and the passion we have. So I'm really excited to see what we do this year. And thank you to all the listeners who have spent time with us in 2021 and are looking forward to spend time with us in 2022.
You made a good point there, Banjo, because, we get all the time as far as, our activity level and what we got going on. And a lot of people don't realize is that of the 6 consoles of Rome, there's some of us who are able to be full-time on this, and there's some of us who are not. And so, I was about to get to you, Ultra. And so, there's a whole lot of and I think that's Metaverse wide. I think that's guild wide, where we have some people that are professional gamers now because they made smart investments in Axie or Gala or whatever at a good time, and there's certain people who are still working their day jobs. And so, we're dealing with that as well as you guys are. This is something that's building, not something that's finished. And you guys are on a journey. You guys are walking the path with us, and that's why you're with the Metaverse Nomads. Go ahead, Ultra. Closes. What you got for us before we close out?
No, that was it.
Damn, Hawk.
So I'm busy. I'm working. Hey, what you got, Fancy?
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Right on. Well, go ahead, hit the button for us, Jesse, and hit us with that nice ass outro video that we got.
Burn them up, baby.
Awesome. Good stuff, folks.
Peace and love to the Metaverse.
We will see you here again next week, same time, same bat channel. So with that, cheers.
Are you ready for the next evolution in gaming? Blockchain games are here. Why just play when you can play to earn? Enter the Star Atlas Metaverse with Rome. Star Atlas is a grand strategy game of space exploration, territorial conquest, political domination, and so much more. Rome is a premier guild of the Oni faction within Star Atlas. Rome is here to play and to earn. Want to take part in the action? Rome is accepting new citizens. Join the Rome Guild on Discord to learn more at gorome.io.